Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Would you please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
God, this chair's getting heavy. Thank you. Patty, would you please read the roll?
Mayor Tinsley?
Here.
Vice Mayor Jablin?
Here.
Councilmember Primieroso?
Here.
Councilmember Marino? Here. Councilmember Woods?
Thank you, Patty. Are there any additions, deletions, or modifications?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. Do we have any announcements or presentations?
No.
Okay. So we're moving right along to items of resident interest and board committee reports. Eric, would you like to start?
Okay. Well, if no one else is going to mention, well, let me mention it first. We had a wonderful Veterans Day celebration, and we used the new facility outside, which I'm sure many of you saw when we walked in. It's all lit up. You can't miss it. The staff did such a phenomenal job in putting this whole renovation of the plaza together, and they did it on time, and they did a magnificent job. And of course, staff did also a magnificent job in putting together that presentation on Friday, Veterans Day. So we all had a great time, and looking forward to using the plaza for all kinds of wonderful events now, because the facility is really world class. And that's all I have. Thank you, staff.
Thank you. Bert?
Yeah, just one comment. 3 weeks ago, I didn't mention at the last meeting, but Eric, Carl, and I attended the ribbon-cutting groundbreaking, if you will, for the Palm Beach Gardens Medical Center for the expansion of their OR facilities. Currently, they have 10 right now. They're adding on to the southeast corner of their facility. They're adding 4 more ORs to 14 total, and they're going to redo the existing 10 once, I guess, the other 4 are done. So, as we know, Gardens Medical Center is a great partner for our city, very active and very involved. And it's nice to see them growing, modernizing their facilities, upgrading their technology, and continuing with the times. So we're very thankful. They're doing those expansions and those that development. So it's great. It's a great facility and getting better. So I just forgot to mention that last time around. Thank you.
You're welcome. Carl?
Okay. Bell's Outlet is open, as you guys know. Again, just like the Vice Mayor said, the Veterans Day ceremony was really moving. It was beautiful, especially to have a 6 Purple Heart soldier there. Firefighter Dave Tarana got his life-saving award the other day. That was great. I personally took a tour of the FP&L facility because I wanted to, along with Seacoast, and just to see where they're going, because they service us and the rest of Florida, and I was really interested in their smart energy and what they're doing as far as that goes. And we also talked about future development plans in Palm Beach Gardens. Our Chamber of Commerce's meeting this morning we all went to, and it was about community policing. It was one of the best Chamber of Commerce I attended to. I really enjoyed it, and that's about it.
Thank you, Carl. Maria?
Well, hello all. Marcy and I were lucky enough to play in the Mayor's Cup Ladies 9 Then Wine Tournament, and I say that because we were the winning team. Thank you, Marcy.
That's very rare for me.
And the next day, Marcy, Bert, Eric, and myself played in the Mayor's Cup, and we invite you all to attend this great event year after year. It supports our veterans, and we had a sellout. We made a lot of money, and I'd like to thank the team for putting that together, because you do such a great job, and we wouldn't be able to do that. We just show up and look good, but our team, our staff, they are the ones that put it all together and make it work. So thank you. Shout out to our group here. Also attended the Chamber of Commerce breakfast where Mayor Mary Lou Berger gave the state of the county, and the main thing that she talked about was the 1% sales tax, and you all know where that is now. Attended the Ballin Isles Charitable Foundation kickoff reception, and like Carl and everyone else, did a couple of the ribbon cuttings. We also were happy to do the Duncan Middle School Veterans Day celebration, as Carl said. That was a very well done event. Attended the Heart of Rock and Roll Heart Association event sponsored by the Honda Classic Cares group this past weekend. So the Honda is starting to kick off its local events. See you all at the Honda late February. And I had some questions, but I'll leave those for later. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. And I'm not going to duplicate what everyone else said as far as the events that we just attended, but we did also attend another ribbon cutting for the Woodhouse Day Spa, and that was a really nice event. And one of the nice things about that grand opening ribbon cutting was that they had partnered with the Nicholas Children's Hospital, and 100% of the proceeds for the raffles that they sold at that opening event went to that hospital. So that was a nice partnership. And we're glad to see that they're already starting, although it's a brand new business, to be wonderful community stewards. We also, Carl and I attended the Riverside Youth Enrichment Thanksgiving Day event that they had, and it was just so adorable. I can't even tell you how cute these little guys were, but they were absolutely beautiful. And to finish, I also went to the Workforce Alliance Consortium meeting today, which was an interesting meeting, which was after our breakfast this morning at the Chamber. And last, and of course, on a very important note, and I think I can say this on behalf of the entire council, and in the spirit of Thanksgiving, I want to say thank you to the close to 500 dedicated city employees who strive to provide the best possible service on a day-to-day basis, and thanks to the many businesses who rise to the occasion and sponsor our communities and charitable events, and thank you to our schools and colleges that educate us. And as you celebrate Thanksgiving, to all of you, surrounded by the love and the support of your family and your friends, please remember to reach out to those in the community who are less fortunate, and to give gratitude to the men and women here and also abroad who are fighting to maintain our liberties. I wish you all a very happy Thanksgiving and a very safe Thanksgiving. And I guess go ahead.
Unity Day, are you going to mention anything about Unity Day? You know, this is on Saturday from 1 to 5, we are hosting our neighbors from the entire region in the North End to come to Palm Beach Gardens and celebrate what we're calling Unity Day. And I don't know, are you going to say anything about it, Candace? No? But if you're not, I will. It's an opportunity to invite our neighbors to our city and celebrate the unity which we all feel. As you can see, is it on the screen? Yeah. Unity Day, Anita Banks Justice for Corey Foundation Incorporated. So I hope you'll all come and enjoy it with all of us. Thanks.
Thank you, Eric. Okay, next we're going to move on to comments from the public, and this is for items that are not on the agenda. And I don't have any comment cards, so I guess we're finished with that. This is a quick meeting. I thought it was going to be a long agenda, but it's quick. So, okay. I do not have any cards, so we're going to move on then to the city manager's report.
In the interest of time and the long agenda that I thought was going to be here tonight and is, I have no report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I'm going to move on to the consent agenda then.
Madam Mayor, if you don't mind, I would like to pull the purchase award transmittal contract for the playground equipment for Ironwood Park for a presentation and discussion, if we could, please.
Absolutely. So we'll pull that item for... Do we need to vote on that? No. To pull it, I mean?
You will need to vote on the
consent agenda minus D.
as amended.
As amended, okay. So now we're going to move on to the...
Move consent agenda as amended.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries 5-0. So now we'll move on to then agenda item D under consent.
Good evening, City Council. For the record, Kumra, Purchasing and Contracts Director, and with me is Angela Brown, who is the Interim Director for Public Services. This is a purchase award for playground equipment for Ironwood Park. The city has allocated funds in its fiscal 2017 budget to construct a new neighborhood park located in the intersection of Hollywood Drive and Ironwood Drive. The project will include play equipment, benches, bike racks, and a zip line. And if I could, I'd like to show you a little video on the
Zip line?
zip line feature for children.
What do you guys think of this thing?
Awesome. This is so much fun.
And that feature is not available in any city park at this moment. It's the first time we'd have a feature like that.
Is there a weight limit on that?
I'm sure there's a weight limit and everything. It's for children.
Whether you can fit in or not.
The city received the proposal from RP Services for the purchase of the equipment. It's just to purchase the equipment. We'll have funds allocated otherwise for the installation. This is the location and the site plan. See what it looks like. The entire area will be fenced. And this is the zip line feature to the right. To the left here, there's the handicapped zip line feature for special needs kids. And to the right is the one for able-bodied children. Then there's swings and a slide and other stuff. There's no parking in the park. There's no parking provided. It's expected to be for just residents in the neighborhood who can walk to the location. This is another view from a different angle. And these are some of the site amenities, the benches, the bike racks, and the trash containers. The city visited 22 residents in the neighborhood adjoining the area, and we spoke to them, and there were 6 residents present, 6 households, who strongly supported the park, including the 2 homes that directly face the park. We're recommending that City Council approve award of this project at a cost of $106,000. The budget amount is $155,000. That extra amount will be used for other things like the fencing, etc. Any questions?
Okay, does anybody have any questions for staff?
Did you say that this was the only park around that had the inclusion equipment?
That has the zip line feature.
Okay. That's it, we're good?
I don't have any questions. I just had discussion. That's all.
You have discussion? Okay. So I do have, not questions, but a few things to discuss as well, so I guess we could move on to a motion and/or discussion.
Good.
Madam Chair, move item D, purchase of playground equipment for Ironwood Park.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, and obviously you want to
Yeah, I just,
make some comments.
first of all, let me thank the city manager and staff for the consideration in the budget. We had talked about some of these items in the older neighborhood a couple years ago. So as the cash flow of the city has improved, putting these capital projects in our budget, especially starting for this year, is a great idea, and I thank the city manager for that. I look at this really as a more of a passive park like we see on Holly and Lighthouse. My envision was not to have kind of an active playground area in that area because of just traffic in school and heavy content of people walking through there. So that was my only concern. I have no issue with upgrades to that area. Putting in a passive park I thought would have been better. So I just wanted to get council's discussion on putting in kind of an active park in that area with maybe not a full discussion with the actual neighborhood, having a meeting, telling them that's what's going in there and how active that area is going to be in that corner. We know it's active when school gets out from the elementary school. We know it's active when the high school gets out from kids walking that way east to other areas of the city. So I just wanted you guys to see it, to have a discussion on it, to make sure you're comfortable with this project. I have no issue putting a park there. I think that's what needs to be there. As Kumra had mentioned, there's additional money in the budget to do other areas in the city. We're already making renovations to Lilac Park, Burns Road. We have the Joe Russo complex being built as well on the west side of town. So there's a lot of money in there for parks, a lot of recreation, which is what our city and our residents love. I just had concerns about the volume of potential people in that area by putting in more of an active park. So that was my concern, and I wanted to bring that up before you guys tonight.
Okay, and
That's all.
I know that when we did talk about this a while back, or this area and passive versus active, I agree that we did talk about passive, and I either one to me would be nice. I think having a park in this area would be very nice. Having improvements in the area would be very nice. I love the park. I think the park is great. I think that the tot lot that you chose or staff chose is wonderful. Sorry, I have a little cold, so please bear with me. I actually called a few people in the neighborhood that I know from the schools, moms that I know from the high school, and I would say the majority of them were actually pleasantly pleased with the idea, although the location they were a little unsure of. So I thought as I was talking to some of these people, and some of them actually had comments of, is there a sign on the property? And that made me think, well, maybe one thing that we can do, because I do like the idea of having people, just having notice, so having people understand that it's not a typical passive park. Right now, people see vacant land, and so when a developer, let's say, has a piece of property that's vacant, we put up a sign because we know that we want to notice people that there's going to be a change of use on that piece of property. In this case, it's just a purchase agreement, so that a sign is not necessary, but maybe we should consider putting up a sign and tabling it and saying, this is subject of a beautiful park, and this is maybe a picture of it. This is what we want to do. It's going to be at the next council meeting, and we could gain support from the residents, or we can gain comments, and this way it's very transparent that this is what we're doing to that piece of property. So that was an idea. Just wanted to throw out there that this way the whole neighborhood understands that this piece of property is going to change use from passive in nature to a little bit more active in nature, although a wonderful idea to be near a school and a place to recreate, and a great improvement on that piece of property. So maybe that's kind of a compromise and or a suggestion that we should consider, so that everybody's very much aware, and we're not going to be caught with anyone saying, well, we didn't know about it. Why is it here? How come we're doing this? How come we didn't know about it? That's the only thing I was thinking. A simple sign for a month and then see it at the next agenda. Because I love the park, but I think your comments are well taken. Anybody have any comments?
I'll wait for you guys to comment if there is.
Well, we did. Eric, do you have any suggestions or comments?
You know, this piece of property's been in the city for a long time. This neighborhood has undergone lots of changes over the years, and to me, it's either a passive park or a recreational park. And I'm concerned about passive parks only because they may not just attract kids, which is what I would like to see this park attract, frankly. And if we just put a few benches out and make it pretty, kids aren't going to hang around just a pretty piece of property. If you give them something to play with, that's where they're going to congregate. And it is right across the street from the school, which makes a lot of sense because kids get out, they go play in the park. There's another playground inside the school, I believe, which is gated. You can't be used after school.
Correct.
And this makes a lot of sense. But, I mean, I don't know what else you would do. It's either passive or active.
Right.
I would opt for active myself, personally, because I'm concerned about passive parks now. If it was a larger piece of property where it was integrated into a passive recreational park, like a 10, 15 acre piece of property, this is what, 1 acre. And it cries out for this kind of use, I think, rather than a passive use. My feeling. I understand where you're coming from. You want to let the public know. But, I mean, who isn't going to like a park?
Well, I think everyone likes the idea of a park, whether passive or active. I think it's just the opportunity to let those that are most affected know what's happening on that piece of property, and if they love it, they're going to tell us, and if they're not too happy about it, they're going to tell us that too. But I just think that it's an opportunity to gain knowledge and input from our adjacent, from the people that are right there, the people that are going to use it probably the most. I understand your comments, and that's very well taken, but I think that people are going to use it. It's not locked at nighttime, so people are going to, whether there's swings there or a bench there, if the people that you're kind of saying might hang out there that shouldn't be there, they're going to hang out there whether there's swings or a bench, I think.
Well, that may be true, but if there were kids playing there, they're not going to be hanging out there.
And I think the older kids will play there too.
They may be at night, but
because older kids play on swings too. They love them.
All right, well.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, this park has no parking, correct? Correct. Okay, so really it's only going to be used by the people in that vicinity. So it's truly a neighborhood park. Correct. Then I think we're doing the right thing.
I did have questions on this, but we moved on that so quickly. I had some questions for the chief. I don't know if we can go backwards, but I looked at our city's comprehensive plan, and it specifically speaks to this, to continue to identify and assess substandard units located within the city limits. In my opinion, the area between Holly and Lighthouse may have some substandard units in there, and it's right in our plan. And then within this same plan, it also says the city shall assist the neighborhood improvement projects by providing code enforcement assistance, encouraging neighborhood self-help, influencing, concentrating capital and or operating budget improvements in such neighborhoods. To me, that's perfect. That defines park. We know the kids are going to be walking back and forth. We know there's Chief, you could speak up if you want. It's 700-something kids at Palm Beach Gardens Elementary. I don't think there's been any crime, any crashes in that area for a dozen years. It's going to be dusk to dawn. And if I'm not mistaken, in the amount of time that I've been integrated with the council, even before city council, I think this has been being discussed for the last couple years. So I don't know how the community wouldn't know that it's been raised by citizens. There's during the day when there is and I know this because I did it for years myself, there's a crossing guard that specifically crosses those kids from the school to Ironwood, which would be right there at the park. And then there's the traffic signal for slowing traffic while the kids might be there. So I think the community wants it. I've been pretty much ingrained in Plat 1 a lot over the last several months, so I kind of have an ear to that area. I'm for it. And,
Okay, and I think you're absolutely right. I think the consensus is absolutely a park and improvements of some kind. I think Bert's concern was more that we've always talked about it being a park, but we've always talked about it being a passive park. And then this actually changes it to an active park. So that's his, I think, if that's what you're suggesting.
Yeah, and Madam Mayor, coming from the Recreation Advisory Board years ago, we tried to put a park area in my neighborhood, and the residents came out totally against an active park. Oaks East, we tried to do some development there. They totally came out against an active park. So I'm just saying that if we're going to vote on this tonight, fine, but I just think we should have, the residents in that whole area should have more knowledge that this will be an active area pretty much from, sun comes up, sun comes down, and that's all I wanted them to know. So I have nothing against the park. If you guys want to make it an active park, that's your decision, but that's just my thought.
And I appreciate that, and I agree with that. Ron wanted
Just
something to say.
some points I'd like to make, and I understand your concern of passive versus active. But I'm a little concerned about your concern about active. This is for smaller children under 12 years old. That's what it's designed for. There are no lights. It's dawn to dusk as far as the operation is concerned. As has been pointed out, there's no parking. And as you see by this picture here, the sidewalk by which children go home, where the crossing guard is right here, it goes right by the park that's designed for little children to play in. The people that are closest to the park have been told about it. The people closest to the park like the idea. They don't object to it at all. They favor it. Now, whether people 2 or 3 houses or 4 houses or 10 houses down like the idea or not, they're not going to be impacted by the daily use of 12-year-old and under children playing in this facility. You have professional parks and recreation staff, and I know you recognize that, and they took the task on to design the very best park in the gardens method that we use all throughout this city for this neighborhood as well. So they undertook the task as professionals and put together their best professional presentation with the budget that they had to be able to service the needs of the children from 12 and under. The fact that we have children 12 and under will deter a lot of activities. That did not occur without the inclusion of talking with our police department in the design so that we'd be able to design as much as possible out of the park so that the things that would lend itself to criminal activities. So it's a close relationship that we have as far as a design. It's a very, I wouldn't call it an active park. If it was a ball field with playgrounds and tennis courts and all of those things on it, that would be an active park. If you'd like, I'll call it a semi-passive park.
Well, it's
but
a potluck.
it's for the children. It's just there for the children, and I thank you.
Yep. Okay. So we've all said our piece. We have a motion and we have a second. I guess we'll take it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. All opposed?
Nay.
Okay. Motion carries 5 to 1.
4 to 1.
4 to 1.
I'm only
5 to
counting.
1
I only
to
count as
6.
1. Yeah.
I can't count. My head's blurry. Okay, now we're going to go, we did consent, so we're going to move on to public hearings. Tonight, we are holding quasi-judicial hearings on the following cases: Ordinance 10, 2016, the second reading and adoption of Balsamo annexation; Ordinance 13, 2016, first reading Balsamo rezoning; Ordinance 11, 2016, second reading and adoption Prosperity Oaks Assisted Living Facility, ALF; Resolution 68, 2016, Prosperity Oaks PUD Amendment; Resolution 72, 2016, Plan Unit Development PUD Amendment at Turtle Beach; Resolution 73, 2016, Art in Public Places for LRP Publications; Resolution 74, 2016, amendment to the Alton Planned Community Development PCD. Resolution 75, 2016, approval for assisted living facility. This means that the City Council is required by law to base its decisions on the evidence contained in the record of this proceedings, which consists of the testimony at the hearing. The materials are in the official city file on the application and any documents presented during this hearing. The Council is also required by law to allow cross-examination of any witnesses who testified tonight. Cross-examinations may occur after the staff, the applicant, and other participants have made their presentations and will be permitted in the order of the witness's appearance. It is necessary that anyone who testifies at the hearing remain until the conclusion of the hearing in order to be able to respond to any questions. If you plan on testifying this evening or wish to offer written comments, please fill out a comment card and give it to the city clerk. The city clerk will now swear in all persons who intend to offer testimony this evening on any of these cases.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Thank you, Patty. First is Ordinance 8, 2016. Would the clerk please read the title?
Ordinance 8, 2016, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, amending its comprehensive development plan to adopt evaluation and appraisal review EAR-based amendments pursuant to Section 163.3191 Florida statutes, providing for a comprehensive update to all elements affecting the pagination in each amended element, providing that the text as amended or revised shall be substituted for and replaced in full the existing text in all amended elements, providing for an update to all maps in the comprehensive plan map series, providing for transmittal to the State Land Planning Agency, providing a conflicts clause, a severability clause, and authority to codify, providing an effective date and for other purposes. Note to the public, there is a sign-in sheet at the front desk for anyone wanting additional information from the Department of Economic Opportunity, DEO.
Thank you, Patty. I'm going to open the public hearing and ask for a staff presentation.
Good evening. Dawn Sonneborn with Planning and Zoning, and I have been sworn in. This is for Ordinance 8, 2016. This is the update of our comprehensive plan. It's required by Florida statutes to be updated every 7 years. So it is an update of all elements in the comprehensive plan, including the map series. This will go to the Department of Economic Opportunity, which is the State Land Planning Agency, after this first reading. It's transmitted to them for review, for about a 30-day review, and we hope that it would come back to you for second final reading and adoption on January 5th of 2017. It is a big, voluminous document, and a lot of it is cleanup items and taking some date-certain items and bringing those up to date. So my presentation is just on the key areas that we focused on that we want to bring forward to you tonight. You will see in the transportation element, we have quite a few new policies that will allow us to take a look at a mobility fee and a mobility plan. This is taking a look at not the traditional concurrency that we have today. We can't widen roads in some areas. So this looks at both walking, biking, and transit use. So we have hired a consultant that is specializing in these types of plans throughout the state that's assisting the city. And these goals and objectives and policies will allow us to study and analyze that further. And if that's something that we do want to consider in the future, this will allow us some time to study that. Kind of in that same line, we are looking at some new policies having to do with complete streets. And again, that is looking at the pedestrian, the bicyclist, the transit riders, and the motorists of all ages and abilities. DOT has adopted a complete streets policy, as well as the Palm Beach County MPO. We have been involved in the MPO's working group, so that is something else that we're considering as new roads are built and redone, just taking a look and make sure we have bike paths and nice sidewalks throughout the city. In the workforce housing, in the housing element, we have some workforce housing incentives for developers to encourage them to do workforce and affordable housing in our city. We're looking at studying another one that would allow partial waiver or waiver of impact fees as that additional incentive. So this policy allows us to study that further, and if that's what we want to do, then we will bring that forward as well. We also look at all the levels of service in our comp plan, and also this is in the public safety element. The fire department, through their reaccreditation process, actually have improved their response times. So you'll see the rural and the suburban area, the response times have been improved, as you see here. And as I mentioned, there's many date certains in there. A lot of those things have been accomplished over the last 7 years, so you'll see some cleanup items there. And then again, all the maps have been all updated with the current data. The Planning, Zoning, and Appeals Board recommended approval at their meeting on October 13th, a vote to 7-0, and staff recommends approval of Ordinance 8, 2016 on first reading as presented.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for staff? Nope. I do not have any cards on this, so I'm going to close the public hearing. And I'm going to bring it back for a motion and/or discussion.
Madam Chair, I move Ordinance 8, 2016 on first reading.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. I just want to make a comment, and I want to say thank you, because I know that you guys have really listened to my sometimes monotonous comments about transportation, but I'm extremely excited about the mobility component of this modification. The transit, the bus shelters, you incorporated that into the changes. I'm really excited about that. And what's exciting is that the language that considers the mobility impact fee is a perfect tool that will help us in the future with our transportation challenges. And mobility impact fees are the only impact fees that can be used for capital and operating, which is different than any other impact fee. So I'm super excited about that. So thank you so much. I appreciate you adding all of those comments throughout the last at least year or more into the modifications. Okay, and with that said, we have a motion. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Okay, we're going to move on to Ordinance 10, 2016. Would the clerk please read the title?
Ordinance 10, 2016, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, expanding the city's municipal boundaries by the voluntary annexation a parcel of real property comprising a total of 96.80 acres, more or less, in accordance with Section 171.044 Florida statutes. Such parcel being generally located on the north side of North Lake Boulevard, approximately 3/4 of a mile east of Coconut Boulevard, as more particularly described herein. Amending Article 2 of the City Charter to redefine the corporate limits pursuant to a petition for voluntary annexation. Declaring that the voluntary annexation petition bears the signature of the owner of the real property annexed hereby, providing a conflicts clause, a severability clause, and authority to codify, providing an effective date and for other purposes.
Thank you, Patty. I'm going to open the public hearing. I'm going to ask for any ex partes. Anybody?
Yes, I've met with the applicant, and I've met with Mr. Herring.
Okay.
Same as last meeting, Mr. Herring, Balsamo, and Harvey Oyer as well.
Okay, Maria?
Same as last meeting. I met on June 21st. Harvey, Don, and Mr. Balsamo.
Carl?
9:15, and with all three as well.
Okay, thank you.
Bert's got him really well trained.
Good job, guys.
Very proud of you guys. I'm very proud of you.
And thank you. I also have an ex parte. I met with the same 3 gentlemen. Thank you.
Well, good evening, council members. For the record, Donaldson Herring here tonight on behalf of Sal Balsamo and his family. This is second reading of the annexation. I think you've seen it on first, so I won't make a specific presentation, but as you recall, this is contiguous on 3 sides to the city of Palm Beach Gardens and contiguous to the Sand Hill Crane Golf Course to the east, and meets all technical requirements of Florida statutes. The comp plan and the land use and the site plan will follow this petition, so there will provide a little bit more details on what we're doing. So we would request your approval of this annexation this evening.
I think that's the shortest presentation you've ever done in the history of Palm Beach Gardens. Good job, Don. Yeah, thank you. Does staff have a presentation?
No changes between first and second reading. Staff is still recommending approval of Ordinance 10, 2016.
Thank you. I do not have any cards on this item. Does anybody have any questions for staff or for the petitioner? Council? Nope. Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing, and I'm going to bring it back for a discussion and or a vote.
Madam Chair, move ordinance 10, 2016 on second reading and adoption.
Thank you. We have a motion. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now, let me just say one thing
Absolutely.
after we voted.
Motion carries.
Absolutely.
5-0.
5-0, yes. I'm sorry. I just wanted to welcome Sal Balsamo and his son, Corey, who is sitting in the audience tonight, into our city limits. I know he has been waiting a long time for this, and it is my pleasure to be on this council when it is voted for. So welcome to our city. I know you're going to eventually build a really beautiful community out there.
Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to be in the city. We're very happy about that.
Good.
Thank you, Eric. And we all concur with Eric's comments. Okay, now we're going to move on to Ordinance 12, 2016. Would the clerk please read the title?
Ordinance 12, 2016, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, adopting a large-scale amendment to its comprehensive plan, future land use map, in accordance with the mandates set forth in Chapter 163 Florida statutes, specifically Section 163.3184 et sequentes Florida statutes. Pursuant to application number CPMA 16-05-000019, in order to change the land use designation on 96.80 acres from Palm Beach County Rural Residential RR10 to Palm Beach Gardens Residential Low RL, to relocate the urban growth boundary UGB in order to include the subject property, providing a notation on the future land use map pertaining to the permitted land use density related to the subject property, which is located on the north side of North Lake Boulevard, approximately 3/4 of a mile east of Coconut Boulevard, providing for compliance with all requirements of Chapter 163 Florida statutes, providing for transmittal to the Florida Department of Economic Opportunity, DEO, providing that the future land use map of the City of Palm Beach Gardens be amended accordingly, providing a conflicts clause, a severability clause, and authority to codify, providing an effective date, and for other purposes. Note to the public, there is a sign-in sheet at the front desk for anyone wanting additional information from the Department of Economic Opportunity, DEO.
Thank you, Patty. I'm going to open the public hearing and ask for a petitioner presentation.
Thank you very much. And if it's okay with the council, I'd like to go ahead and present both the land use and the site plan concurrently. Is that all right? I know you have to take two separate votes.
That's fine.
We just incorporate all the comments, if there are any comments, into both hearings.
Okay.
Great. Again, Sal and their son are both here this evening, and as you know, Sal's owned this property a long time and is very, very passionate about it, very much so attached, as many of you know when you've met with him and have felt his passion. The site, as you're aware, is 96.8 acres just to the east side of the Sandhill Crane golf course, and the city's boundary as it existed a few minutes ago it was contiguous on 3 sides of the site today. Now it's contiguous on 4 sides. So the boundary is identified on the site. And just kind of zooming in a little bit and giving you kind of the proximity of the site to some of the other surrounding areas, including Avenir. So Avenir is immediately contiguous to the western boundary of the site as well as the northern boundary of the site. And then to the immediate east of the site is the Sandhill Crane golf course. So there's a subject site highlighted in yellow, and now, of course, that boundary goes straight on North Lake and includes the site. So the communities, in addition to Avenir, include Osprey Isles and Carlton Oaks. They're very, very similar communities, although there are smaller lots. They're developed at a very comparable density to what is requested with this petition before you this evening. To the south of us is Bay Hill Estates, as well as the Rustic Lakes. Bay Hill is in the unincorporated area of the county, as is Rustic Lakes. And then IBIS, as you're aware, is within the city limits of West Palm Beach. I spoke earlier this evening from Reg Miller, the outgoing president of the board of Bay Hill Estates, and he asked me to pass on his sentiments to the council, that he's very excited to see this project move forward and sees great benefits to his community. He's not able to make it personally, but I did tell him I would go on the record on his behalf and pass that along. So the request at first here is a large-scale comprehensive land use amendment from the residential RR10 designation in Palm Beach County to the city's designation of RL, which is residential low, together with a cap. We're specifically capping the density at the 97 dwelling units proposed as a part of the site plan. In addition, we are contiguous to the urban service district boundary to the immediate west, which is the Avenir property. We're looking to modify that to include the subject site. And of course, the petition, as a part of this, is a companion petition for a plan unit development overlay within the LR2 underlying land use. The voluntary annexation was just completed. So just to give you just a little highlight, this is your city's future land use map as it exists today. The area to the west here is the Avenir project, which has a mixed-use land use. The urban service district boundary now basically hugs the Avenir site, and we're looking to extend it so it includes the subject site. Of course, immediately to the east of us is the Sandhill Crane Golf Course, which is a wonderful asset of the city, which we are very proud to be adjacent to as a part of our development. This is what your future land use map will look like once it is hopefully approved tonight on first reading and adopted in January. In second reading, it would then include the site. The site would be residential low, which is the yellow, which are the lower density areas of the city, and will include a little diamond on it, or a triangle, which is basically the footnote that limits it to the 97 dwelling units as the maximum. The staff is recommending approval of this. Have you read in the staff report, the proposed amendment is fully consistent with the goals and objectives of policy of the City of Palm Beach Gardens. In addition, staff always looks at how does it fit into the region, so it's consistent with the regional policy plan as well as the state's comprehensive plan. And obviously, we are also required to demonstrate that all levels of services can be provided, police, fire, water, sewer, parks and recreation, schools, and as you've read in the staff report, all levels of service are met and can be provided for the subject property. And then lastly, of course, we look at compatibility, and I think I showed you in the slide what's adjacent to us, but the site is fully consistent and compatible with the adjacent densities and intensities surrounding the property. And I'll walk you through just a little bit through the site plan and kind of also talking about compatibility. This is the subject site with the site plan superimposed, the Sandhill Golf Course to the immediate east of us. The golf clubhouse, which hopefully will be under construction any day, is located up on the north end of the site. So the site is contiguous to Avenir on two sides. To the north, which is the park site, those properties that are being dedicated to the City of Palm Beach Gardens for civic and recreation as well as park use. And then to the immediate west is Parcel A. Parcel A is the residential development. So a lot of Avenir is in preservation to the north, but their density would be aggregated and basically placed in the area of our western boundary. And one of the things that we're excited about as well, in addition to the golf course, is the town center parcel when that is developed as a part of Avenir, because as a part of our development, we've been working with the staff. We'll have a 90-foot parkway buffer that will run along North Lake Boulevard, which is consistent with what was provided on the Avenir property, and we'll have a multi-purpose path, a large 12-foot pathway, which would enable our residents to be able to go all the way over to Avenir and their town center to take advantage of the great amenities that exist there. In addition to going to Avenir, We are very thankful that with the city's cooperation and working with your golf course folks, we have worked out an arrangement where we can actually have a physical cart path connection to the golf course. We truly believe that the residents of Ancient Tree, Mr. Balsamo's property, will actually claim Sand Hill Crane as their own and frequent it often. Of course, you're going to have venues out there in the evening where people can get food, a bistro and bar, and given the convenience to this residential neighborhood, we would think that they would take advantage of that as being new residents of the city of Palm Beach Gardens quite frequently, as well as playing the wonderful golf amenity that you have out there. Also, in addition, and in keeping with some of the recommendations of your county traffic or the city traffic engineer, we will have the opportunity to have connections, pedestrian connections, to the adjacent recreation area to the north, as well as other areas throughout Avenir where it would be deemed appropriate. One of the strong components of the site, and one of the things I know your good friends at Bay Hill are very excited about, is really how we're reworking the entranceway off of North Lake Boulevard. Of course, this is right now a 4, soon to be 6 or 8 lanes in capacity. It's a very, very fast road. And so because of that, having good access to the roadway and signalization at an appropriate location is very, very important to public health, safety, and welfare. So as a part of this, now I've just taken the plan and rotated it 90 degrees to the right so you can see the whole site plan, but we have been working very closely with the city, with Bay Hill, and the city's engineers to design an entranceway which will not only serve the residents of Bay Hill, but will also serve anyone who is visiting Sand Hill Crane Golf Course, because we will now bring all of the traffic together at a location where it could be signalized. As you're aware, the signal actually is included in your capital improvement program to be provided. We would be constructing at the entrance a roundabout which would extend all the way on over and provide for the new access into Sand Hill Crane Golf Course. And so not sure yet whether the city will close their existing entrance, but certainly from exiting out onto North Lake Boulevard, with this being a signalized intersection, this becomes much safer. And then the private component going into the site will occur from the roundabout. We, at this particular point, our entrance is not anticipated to be a guarded gate. We basically made a provision for a guardhouse if that's what ultimately the residents want. But we've used virtual security, the Envera security system, which is an RFID or barcode type reader, which is what most of our communities are doing today. So we'll have the great opportunities of actually being on a golf course, being able to look at a golf course and be able to play a golf course without having all those high fees that you can often have in our beautiful country club community. So it's a real win-win for our residents. We do have substantial open space throughout the community, particularly at the entrance, which hopefully everybody in the city will enjoy as they go to see the golf course, but also our parkway buffer. And as you know, the parkway buffer is something that's a very strong element that's been in the city on PGA Boulevard and all of our major corridors. So we do have a 90-foot parkway buffer in addition to all the right-of-way and easements for utilities that we're providing, and that will provide connectivity into the site. In total, we'll have about 38% open space for the project, about 18 acres of lakes, a 2.5-acre recreation center, which is located basically central to the site, very specific on access view as you come in, but also conveniently located adjacent to and contiguous to Sand Hill Crane, where we'll have that opportunity to have connectivity and a cart path leading over to the clubhouse, which we're very thankful to have. As a part of this request, we also will be dedicating 14.3 acres of open space to the city. with the anticipation that this will be developed for recreation or golf course expansion purposes. And so that will be happening as a part of the platting of the property, which we hope to move forward with very, very quickly. I can tell you the plat is well underway, and I know our surveyors had discussions with the city engineer. Also, as pointed out, we will have the opportunity to have interconnectivity with the adjacent areas. Our recreation parcel, 2.5 acres. Of course, we've got this beautiful brand new clubhouse, which also we see as being a great asset to this community, and we're glad we can take advantage of it. But we do have a clubhouse of our own with a shaded playground, 3,900 square foot clubhouse, tennis court, open space. And what we're showing you here is conceptual. This could change. If it changes, and as the more details are developed, that will come back as a miscellaneous petition to council as outlined within the staff report. And of course, the interconnection between the properties. These are just some conceptual renderings of what that might look like, consistent with the kind of the mission and Mediterranean theme proposed as a part of the development. We have only 3 waivers. So very minor number of waivers that are before you. These are fairly normal waivers. Really, first, we would like to encourage side load garages. We think that that increases and enhances the streetscape. And so we've asked for the ability to have a 15-foot front yard setback for a side-loaded garage. Very common waiver in most of our larger planned developments like Ballin Isles and Mirasol. Side yard setback. We've asked for a 7.5-foot side yard setback as opposed to a 10. Our lots are actually very, very large. They are 90 by 140 feet deep, so they're very, very large, 150 feet deep, very, very large lots compared to what we typically see in the city. And then we have a side street setback of 15 feet, and your staff is supporting all 3 of those waivers. They're good for the community. Additionally, we will be bringing a part of the city out there with us. The decorative artistic bus shelters will be provided for our school bus shelter, which will be located within our project entrance. We are asking for the adoption of a set of design guidelines, which are common for our larger lot communities like Mirasol. Basically sets forth the timing, the aesthetics, the theming for the architecture, issues relative to site details, our color palettes, preferred building materials. We have 3 proposed architectural styles: a Mediterranean revival, a mission, as well as a Monterey style, and then a Florida Mediterranean. So that's 4. So these are the styles and various forms and palettes that they could be provided in. These are some of the color palettes that we have, all earth tone, very nice palettes. We actually have a total of about, I think, 6 palettes of earth tones that can have not only nice roof tiles, but also some stone of various types that could be utilized. But again, no pastels, all earth toned, which is something that we're finding that the marketplace is looking for today. And that is my presentation. We are very excited. We're looking forward to being back in front of you on second reading in early January after this gets transmitted to the Department of Economic Opportunity. We thank you very much and look forward to your approval on this evening. More than happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Staff, do you have a presentation?
Much of staff's presentation is virtually duplicative of Mr. Hearing's presentation. For the sake of time, as a brief overview, staff does recommend approval of Ordinance 12, which is the Comprehensive Plan Amendment on first reading based on the findings of fact that are more specifically set forth in the staff report, and specifically that the project meets all levels of service and is compatible with the surrounding area. Staff does recommend approval of Ordinance 13 on first reading based on the fact that the rezoning is consistent with the city's comprehensive plan and has received DRC certification. I would like to briefly clarify one minor point. There isn't one additional waiver that Mr. Hearing did not mention in his presentation, which is for the rear setback for screen enclosures only. This was listed in the staff report, so you all did have the opportunity to review it, and that was simply for the proposed 10-foot setback in the rear for screen enclosures. Staff has reviewed that, and we are recommending approval of that waiver. And staff is recommending approval on first reading of Ordinance 13.
Okay, thank you. I do not have any cards on this. Does anybody have any questions for the petitioner or for staff up here? Or, no? Okay. I'm going to close the public hearing then, seeing as I don't have any comment cards on this one. I'm sorry, Max, did you want to say something?
Ordinance 12.
Ordinance 12.
Yes, this is just for, we're voting only for Ordinance 12, even though we heard both of the petitions.
Madam Chair, move ordinance 12, 2016 on first reading.
Second?
We have a motion and we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Chair, move ordinance 13, 2016.
Well,
Oh, you got to
I
read
need
it.
to
You
read
gotta
the
Let
title.
me, yeah,
Sorry.
you're getting a little ahead of me.
I'm sorry. I thought she had read it together.
Okay. Now, we're going to move on to Ordinance 13. Would the clerk please read the title?
Ordinance 13, 2016, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, rezoning certain real properties, such property being comprised of 96.80 acres in size, more or less, and located on the north side of North Lake Boulevard, approximately 3/4 of a mile east of Coconut Boulevard, providing that the parcel of real property, which is more particularly described herein, shall be rezoned from Palm Beach County Agricultural Residential AR to Palm Beach Gardens Residential Low RL2, with the Planned Unit Development Overlay District PUD, providing that the zoning map of the City of Palm Beach Gardens be amended accordingly, providing a conflicts clause, a severability clause, and authority to codify, providing an effective date and for other purposes.
Thank you, Patty. I'm going to open the public hearing and ask for any ex partes.
Same as before.
Same as well, ordinance 10.
Same as ordinance 10.
Same as Ordinance 10.
10, 12, and 13.
And 13.
10 from the previous time, and 12.
Okay.
Well, 12 isn't 10.
Okay. Everyone gave their ex partes. We're going to move on. I guess we have already had our petitioner presentation and our staff presentation, unless you wanted to add anything. Okay.
Yeah, we'll just formally incorporate those comments into this public hearing.
Perfect. And now I'm going to close the public hearing because I do not have any comment cards on this one either, and bring it to a discussion and or a vote.
And now I'll, Madam Chair, move ordinance 13, 2016 on first reading.
Second?
We have a motion and we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, and motion carries 5-0. Thank you. And now we're going to move on to Ordinance 11, 2016. Would the clerk please read the title?
Ordinance 11, 2016, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, amending Ordinance 1, 1985, which approved the Prosperity Oaks Assisted Living Facility Plan Unit Development PUD master plan in order to transfer and amend the master site plan and related conditions of approval to Resolution 68, 2016, providing that future amendments to the site plan and conditions of approval for the PUD may be made by resolution of the City Council, providing a conflicts clause, a severability clause, and authority to codify, providing an effective date and for other purposes. Resolution 68, 2016 is a companion item to Ordinance 11, 2016 and will require council action. Resolution 68, 2016, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, for Prosperity Oaks Plan Unit Development PUD located on the west side of Prosperity Farms Road, south of PGA Boulevard, as more particularly described herein. Approving a PUD amendment to allow the development of a one-story, 39-bed memory care facility and incorporating applicable conditions from Ordinance 1, 1985 and Ordinance 26, 1989, providing conditions of approval, providing an effective date, and for other purposes.
Okay, thank you, Patty. And you read Ordinance 11 and Ordinance 68, the title for them. Resolution. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to open the public hearing, and I'm going to ask for any ex partes.
No.
Nope.
None.
Okay, no ex partes. And now I'm going to ask petitioner for a presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. The presentation that I have tonight is the exact same presentation from 2 weeks ago. I'd be happy to go through it again, or if you have any questions, I can answer those either way.
Okay, and there's no changes
There
since
are
the
no
last.
changes since the last presentation.
Okay, does anybody want to see the presentation again on the council here? No, I don't need to see it. So we're all good, as long as it hasn't changed.
No.
Staff?
Ms. Booth is correct in that there have been no substantive changes. The only minor modification that has been presented in a memo format before you is a modification and removal of condition 2, which refers to the unified control. The applicant has sufficiently demonstrated that unified control has been provided. The city attorney has reviewed this, and as such, resolution 68 no longer includes this condition of approval. It is extremely minor in nature. Staff is still recommending approval as presented. Thank you.
That was quick, very good. Okay, anybody have any questions on the modified condition or deletion of it? Nope. Okay. I do not have any comment cards on this or on 68, but we're going to vote separately for each one. So give me a chance, Eric. I'm giving you a pre-warning. I'm going to close the public hearing, and I'm going to bring it back for a motion and or discussion.
Madam Chair, move ordinance 11, 2016 on second reading and adoption.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Okay, now we can open the public hearing for Resolution 68 and ask for any ex partes.
None.
None. Okay. And we don't have a petition or presentation or a stat. Well, we already did. So now I don't have any cards on this. I'm going to close the public hearing. I'm going to bring it back for a discussion and or a vote.
Madam Chair, move resolution 68, 2016.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you, and happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, and to you. Okay, now we're going to move on to Ordinance 15, 2016. Would the clerk please read the title?
Ordinance 15, 2016, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, amending Chapter 70, Traffic and Vehicles at Article 3, Parking, Standing, and Stopping at Section 70-62, Stopping, Standing, and Parking Prohibited in specified places in order to amend the regulations that govern the parking of motor vehicles on roadways and streets, in swales and off-street parking within the city, providing a conflicts clause, a severability clause, and authority to codify, providing an effective date for other purposes.
Thank you, Patty. And I'm going to open the public hearing and ask for a presentation.
Good evening. For the record, Stephen Stepp, Chief of Police. This is Ordinance 15, 2016. It's about Chapter 70, Traffic and Vehicles, in order to amend regulations that govern the parking of motor vehicles on roadways and streets, in swales, and off-street parking within the city. There are three main parts to the changes here. The first prohibits parking in the swales. The second is for no parking on city property between the hours of 11 p.m. and 6 a.m., such as in parks, overnight parking in parks. And the third is based on numerous complaints that we've received from citizens over the last couple of years concerning parking on the roadway or street between the hours of 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. Staff recommends approval of Ordinance 15, 2016 on first reading.
Thank you, Chief. Does anybody have any questions for Chief Stepp?
Chief, how long are we going to give warnings out on this before we start writing the issue?
There's no set time, but with all of our traffic control, we always use a lot of discretion. So our idea is not to fine people or cite them, but to get compliance to keep the neighborhoods in harmony. So of course we'll try to give warnings and do what we can to make it good for everyone.
Good question. I know we discussed this at our agenda review, but I guess I really appreciated your answer, and it was in regards to guest parking. Should somebody have a party or an event at their house, how would you treat that, or how would the city treat that?
Well, before, when we used to enforce this, years ago when I first got here, the typical situation of a party like that, if it was going till 1 o'clock in the morning, we would knock on the door and explain to them. And as far as I know, we've always had good compliance.
Okay, great. Thank you. I do not have any cards on this issue. Patty shaking her head in agreement. I'm going to close the public hearing then and bring it back for a vote or discussion.
Madam Chair, move ordinance 15, 2016 on first reading.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Okay, next we have Resolution 72, 2016. Would the clerk please read the title?
Resolution 72, 2016, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, amending the Turtle Beach Plan Unit Development PUD and approving a major conditional use to allow a two-story, 9,000 square foot building with bank and professional office uses and a drive-through ATM. Such PUD is generally located 550 feet west of the intersection at Military Trail and PGA Boulevard, as more particularly described herein, providing conditions of approval, providing waivers, providing an effective date, and for other purposes.
Thank you. And I'm going to open the public hearing and ask for any ex partes.
None.
None.
Casual one, yes. On Monday, I actually was playing golf with one of the principals from the bank and said, how's your project going? He goes, I don't know. Let me talk to your city people. So that was my ex parte.
Did you win?
No.
Oh, okay.
What are you going to do? It was for charity.
Yes, ma'am, as well as a casual setting several months ago, and I was with Mr. DeVasta, Jack Owen, Nader Salor, if I'm pronouncing that correct, and
Nadir.
Nadir. Sorry.
Nadir.
Thanks.
All right.
And then Stan Klett Esquire as well.
Okay, thank you. Bert? Any ex partes? Oh, okay, I didn't hear it. Sorry. And I do have an ex parte as well. I spoke with Steve Matheson in booth. Okay. And now if we can have a presentation. Thank you.
Yes.
Hello, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Dodie Glass with Gentile Glass Holloway O'Manhe, and I represent the petitioner, and I have been sworn in. And I'll follow the spirit of the evening, and I'll move through this. It's not very complicated. From the staff report, we have a staff recommendation along with P&Z. I know you all are very familiar with the site. It's that vacant parcel on PGA that's still remaining adjacent to SunTrust that is coming in. And there's a history of approvals on the site. The most recent approval was also for a bank with a drive-through, which was also a conditional use. And guess what? That's what we're doing as well, except we have an office component, and this is a two-story building that's going to be at this location. And as a part of that, we do have a substantial amount of open space. We have 40% open space on the site. And we have two waivers. There were previous waivers related to the site. I'll go through that in detail, one related to signage and one related to the setback, both related to the circumstances of the parcel. And it is PGA Boulevard. As a part of PGA Boulevard, we do have part of the overlay that is incorporated within the design of the building. We have a pedestrian plaza in the front, and part of the thought was as well, it makes for a lovely setting to be able to even do an evening function. It was suggested at P&Z we add a fountain feature, which we have done that, and we look forward to utilizing that space. As I noted, there is an ATM, which is in the rear of the site. You can see it highlighted here. There is a well-screened drive-through and a very large turning radius with regard to the activity of the site. This is the architecture. Not unlike architecture that we see in Palm Beach Gardens, this is sort of a traditional, classic Palm Beach Gardens look in the two-story. It is up to all of the detail standards that we're accustomed to seeing on PGA. The materials are natural in keeping with more neutral tones, and the architecture without seeing the landscape material does a lot of justice in terms of addressing both the first floor and the second floor of the building and the rear of the building. A lot of interest in the roof line and in terms of projections and changes. This is the rear elevation with the landscape. Signage on the building is on the PGA side, of course, and it is bronze in terms of the material that's used. the sign that we have that is a monument sign, also traditional in terms of being internally lit, and it will be located near the entrance of the site. And that brings up our first waiver. This particular lot is slightly smaller than what code permits for frontage. It's 300 feet. We're 245 feet in terms of the frontage. Therefore, we have to request a waiver, and as a PUD, we can do that. And as you know, there is already joint access with the parcel that goes all the way to the corner where SunTrust is, with access to Military Trail. This is the site plan, and I'm pointing it out because if you look at the rear of the site, one of the things that we have is our property line abuts the canal in the rear, and that canal has a residential designation on it. Because it has a residential designation on it, what happens is you're required to have your standard setback, and then you have to have an additional 75 feet. In this particular case, the canal area is actually 100 feet. The previous waiver had the building only set back 31 feet from the property line. We are now at 55 feet. In addition to that, we have the full 100 foot of the canal area, and the building on the other side, the house on the other side, the residential use is actually 55 feet as well. And if you look at this graphic, you can see that property line there. And the other thing we did is we do have a wall, and I think you can see it up close in your monitor. There we also have some tree diamonds that allow us to do some trees along that area as additional buffer. And of course we have standard hedge material, so you have tiered buffering along with the wall in that area. This is a little closer look of that, and again, the architecture in the rear of the building is pretty significant as well. Those are our two waivers, and we really have no issues with any of the conditions that have been presented to us, and we're happy to answer any questions. I do have representatives both from the development company, Nadir Salor is with me, and I have representatives from First Republic as well, who are very happy to be here and looking forward to opening.
Thank you, Dodie. Does anybody have any questions for the petitioner?
Actually, I do have one question. The second story is her office. Is the office going to be used by the bank, or is it retail?
They do wealth management, so it is intended to be utilized within their operation.
Thank you.
I have a question and a comment. First, let me say this is really lovely. I think the architecture is really beautiful. I've looked at that lot for a long time. It's nice to know that this is going to be there. The other question is there an art in public places element, and are you going to bring something back to us, or?
If we hit that threshold, we're right now from the estimates we have, and I do want to, if you don't mind, make a comment that Keith Spina did the architecture, and yes, we're very happy with the way the building has come out. And right now the estimates don't have us triggering the threshold. However, we've always thought that plaza area was ideal location, so we'll keep you posted. You may see us come back.
Okay, thank you.
That's a stay tuned. Yeah. Bert, do you have any questions?
The threshold's $1 million. I can't believe this building is under $1 million.
Just so you know, I can't either, but that's not my that's not my course. But they know what the requirements are, and they're very familiar with them.
Oh, yes, I'm very familiar with them, too.
I bet you are.
And I really would like to see something
and art
nice
on this,
there
in this
reflecting
location.
what is on the corner. Thank you.
Carl?
We'll keep you posted.
It is a beautiful building. It's perfect for PGA Boulevard. And I just want to make sure that the landscaping in the rear is going, because you said it allows
it's significant.
you. And so the allowing part, I want to make sure that it is significant now, and it's going to be buffer complete noise so the neighbors aren't intruded by anything.
That's correct. I mean, the intent there, and again, with code requirements, we actually went above and beyond in terms of what we're preparing for landscaping material in the rear. It's one thing to do a wall, it's another thing to put some landscape in there because that softens sound as well. We also dealt with the level and the tiering for the visual side of it. Right. Again, it is a financial institution, primarily a daytime user here.
Correct.
So,
yeah.
and
I'm
office.
With the vice mayor as far as art goes. So anytime you want to come back, let us know. We'll be here.
We know. I've come through here many times with Art, so, and we'll be with some more.
Thank you. I do have one comment, and it is a beautiful building. I think it's going to be wonderful along PGA Boulevard. I'm looking forward to the construction of the building. I like the way you did the landscaping. I looked at the plan in detail. And I just want to say thank you for agreeing to the additional condition regarding cross-access. And the reason that I brought that up is as I drive along PGA Boulevard and I notice a lot of people are, obviously PGA Boulevard is built out as far as right-of-way. So when people want to turn right onto Military Trail, that's right in front of that access. So I felt that if mutually agreed upon with your neighbor to the west, it would be a benefit to this parcel to have cross-access, because anytime, cars can't get out of that access because during peak hours when, that right turn lane is, the right lane is blocked by traffic, you could go through the property to the west access, and all those cars that are within your facility leaving during peak hour because of the bank and office, they can utilize that. And also for emergency purposes, it gives you an extra out. So I'm just encouraging that, and in addition, security purposes, I think, when you guys are not heavily utilized, or you don't have a lot of patrons on your facility, having people in that center, an activity, to me, is great for security because it's more visible. So I thought that would be something that I'd like to encourage you to really consider, because I think it would be great, and it also would be a reliever for PGA Boulevard as well, which is needed.
And I would just point out, too, we do have an alternative access on Military Trail through this site as well, because we are interrelated to the financial institution. But we appreciate your comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate I know Mr. Matheson is a PGA corridor person, encouraging economic development, so I appreciate you working on this and commenting as well. Thank you. Okay. Staff, do you have a presentation?
Again, much of the information that was presented by the applicant, by Ms. Glass, would be duplicative. Staff does not have a presentation. However, as pointed out, Madam Mayor, on the condition of approval that was added to provide the option for cross-access should both parties be mutually agreeable. So that is the only minor modification from the packets. Staff is recommending approval. And I did want to reiterate, based on the fact that the art was mentioned, that we do have a condition of approval in the resolution that does require the applicant to comply. There is opportunity for staff to review the cost estimates as part of the building permitting process, so we will look at that, and we'll look at it thoroughly to make sure that it's in compliance.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I do have one comment card on this. Ms. Ann Booth?
Good evening. For the record, my name is Ann Booth. I'm with Urban Design Kilday Studios, and I have been sworn in. I am here tonight to represent the adjacent property owner for the Commons and to express their consent and support for any cross-connection that can be provided here in the future. If they decide to do that, they would be more than happy to discuss it with them.
Thank you. That's great. Appreciate that. Max, does she have to give her address for the record?
I beg your pardon, ma'am?
Does she need to give her address for the record?
No, it's
okay. Perfect. Okay, that's the last card and only card that I have for this item. So I'm going to close the public hearing, and I'm going to bring this back for a discussion and or a vote.
Madam Chair, move Resolution 72, 2016.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for priming me for the weather, because I'm freezing. I know I'm a wimp. I know that.
It's always cold in here.
It's getting us ready. They said Thanksgiving was going to be cold, so we'll see. And happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Thank you, and to you.
I can't believe we're saying that.
Can I just say, Thanksgiving's coming up and Christmas can't be far behind. And I want you to know we have Santa Claus in the house. I think the beard is looking phenomenal, Norm. Absolutely phenomenal. You're gonna thrill all those kids Christmas Eve.
I hope there's no children in here.
Just wreck the surprise.
Well, okay, there are no children in here, so I didn't ruin it.
Norm Santa?
Norm.
Oh, I forgot.
Santa,
There is
I'm
one
sorry.
child in here.
Did I ruin it for you? Did I ruin it for you? I'm sorry.
Thanks a lot, Marcy.
Thanks a lot,
I still believed. I still
Hopefully.
believed.
I know you believe. Okay, we're moving right along to Resolution 73, 2016. Would the clerk please read the title?
Resolution 73, 2016, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, approving art in public places for LRP publications for buildings 2 and 3 on lots 7 and 8 of the PGA National Commerce Park within the PGA National Plan Community District, PCD, as more particularly described herein, providing conditions of approval, providing an effective date, and for other purposes.
Thank you, Patty. I'm going to open the public hearing and ask for any ex partes. Is that it? Okay. Eric, we'll start with you.
I did see this presentation at the Art in Public Places meeting a couple of weeks ago. And it's a really nice presentation. That's it.
Okay.
None.
Good evening.
And I don't have any either.
I was told we're the fun presentation tonight, I hope. But that's
Yes,
true.
you are.
We'll make it short as well. My name is Linda Oliver, and I am an art consultant who not only works, but I also reside in the gardens. And I've been retained as a consultant to LRP Properties, who is developing a new innovation center here in our community, which will be a building that is going to provide space to technology-oriented companies, which in itself brings a new element into our community and says a lot about our current mode of interest in the world. To that end, I'm going to present Peter Garay, who is the artist, and we will both show you what our solution for LRP's property is.
Okay. Before you continue, were you both sworn in?
Yes, we were.
Okay.
Correct. As I said, the building is an innovation center, and the design is very clean, and you will see a picture of it, very modern looking and very simple. And what we wanted to do is have a piece of artwork which expressed the purpose of the building. The piece itself, and Peter is also, by the way, a resident of the gardens, which I thought was really unique in bringing an Art in Public Places artist to the table. And I should just mention, I also ran Art in Public Places as the chairwoman for 3 years for the city. So I'm familiar with both sides of the table here. His sculpture will be in stainless steel. And I must tell you, having seen other works by Peter, the finishes and the care that he puts into a piece of artwork is just beautiful. It truly will be a beautiful, beautiful and very dynamic piece for the client as well. The height of the piece will be 84 inches, and it will be positioned on a 2-foot-high base so that it will have quite a presence in front of the building. And I must mention that we actually went out in front of the existing building with tape measures and rulers and made certain that we were scaling a proportional piece of artwork for the new site. I'm going to let Peter tell you what his thought process is and why he developed this concept. And I think if you hear his thoughts about it, you'll be very impressed about the whole piece.
Good evening. My name is Peter. And right away I start how this structure or does this sculpture come up in my mind. When I first time I met a client from LRP, so whole concept of their vision was office building will be fill up with IT companies and companies that are the future of technology. Okay, so they were looking for solution or something what can bring innovation. Okay, that was major goal, innovation, innovation, innovation. So take a while to get this point, but as I saw the opportunity to create a robotic hand holding planet Earth, because that's the future. Okay, so our city or our town is need IT companies, because there is a lot of surplus. Okay, so that's going to create more jobs, more add value, and more taxes. Okay, for city or town. So I hope so. That's client like it. Whole idea was very innovative, and I saw that that's something what can bring them what they're looking for, and they were pretty happy with that. And this is pretty much the results, how far we get. And now it's just we're hoping it's just up to you to say yes.
I'm going to give you other views of the piece, just to give you a better sense of the perspective. This is a...
Excuse me, can you use the microphone, please?
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I just wanted you to see the other views of the piece of sculpture. This is a previous rendering of the building. The 3 trees that you see in front of the entrance have been replaced, and that's where you will see the sculpture. And if I go into the next slide, you will see the actual location in front of the building. And here's another view, with the street being along the bottom, Hyatt Drive.
Linda, could you indicate with the cursor where exactly that's going to be? Just so, there you go.
This is the sculpture right here.
Okay, good.
And there will be 2 palms on this side, and there will be a Japanese blueberry tree on this side. And I have Nicole Plunkett from Cutler Herring here to answer any questions about the landscaping, and also Jim Martini, who is the Vice President of Administration for LRP, is also here, so they can respond to other questions you might have. This just is a diagram of the base and the actual elevation. Peter, incidentally, was born in Czechoslovakia, and he actually started his career as a very strong world skier, and came to this country, and he's worked in Denver. He has done some beautiful pieces that you will see listed. I have seen this piece, and it's just exquisite. I think you'll have a good laugh at these, as we are trying to get in touch with Converse. But again, I think you see the quality of his workmanship. This was designed for a Shabbat here in our community that hopefully will still go forward. And Peter also designed an ark for the bima of a synagogue in Aspen, Colorado, where he has done other work. He also works in 2-dimensional work, which is painting, obviously. But his sculptures have become quite dynamic and quite beautiful. And these are some of the projects that are more local that he has participated in. So we're very, very excited. I know LRP is very excited. We're very pleased that your Art and Public Places Committee was very excited. And we hope we've created that same kind of feeling in your group this evening. And thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for your service on Art and Public Places.
It was my pleasure.
It's beautiful.
Any more questions?
Does anybody have any questions for?
Just one comment. The Art and Public Places Board loved this piece, and they unanimously recommended it to the City Council, and I think it's really great. I love it.
Anybody else have any questions? No? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Staff, do you have an additional presentation?
No additional presentation. Staff is recommending approval of Resolution 73, 2016, with the date certain installation date of March 15th, 2017.
Okay. Thank you. And I do not have any cards on this item, so I'm going to close the public hearing, and I'm going to bring it back to the council for a discussion and or vote.
Madam Chair, move Resolution 73, 2016.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Approved. You have our yeses. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to Resolution 74, 2016. Would the clerk please read the title?
Resolution 74, 2016, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, approving an amendment to the Alton Plan Community Development PCD to allow the conversion of 750 multifamily units, 350 apartment units, and 50,000 square feet of neighborhood commercial use to an additional 418 single-family units, 32,000 square feet of industrial research and development biotech use, and a 256-bed assisted living facility, providing an 8.44-acre public park on the master plan and modifying certain PCD buffers, upland preserve areas, lakes, roadway cross-sections, neighborhood district boundaries, and revising a condition of approval. The Alton PCD is located south of Donald Ross Road, north of Hood Road, and east and west of Interstate 95, as more particularly described herein, providing conditions of approval, providing a waiver, providing an effective date, and further purposes.
Thank you, Patty. I'm going to open the public hearing and ask for any ex partes.
None?
None, just a staff presentation yesterday.
Actually, I met with Bobby Julian and John Saple on April 28th, had a tour of the property and a little discussion, so that would be my ex parte.
Okay, Carl? Okay, and I do have an ex parte. I spoke with Mr. Ken Tuma. Okay, and now we can move on to the presentation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I have not been sworn in. I apologize.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. Good evening, Ken Tuma, with Urban Design Kilday Studios. My address is 610 Clematis Street, West Palm Beach. Here today on behalf of Coulter. What an exciting night. The Alton PCD, which was formerly known as the Brigger DRI, is really coming to fruition. And if I recall correctly, about 6 years ago, on April 1st, 2010, I stood here, and there were 150 people in the audience talking about this project. And I think I made a comment that the residential density more than likely would be less than what we were proposing. And here we are tonight with a reduction. This is almost a cleanup of the project now that Coulter is moving forward. In more particular, we're removing 50,000 square feet of commercial, 350 apartments, reducing the multifamily component by 715 units. We're adding 32,000 square feet of research and development. We're adding a 256-bed assisted living facility, which is the next item on the agenda, I believe. And we're adding a 415 single-family units. The net differential, though, is a negative 647 residential units from where we were 6 years ago. I'm going to do a short presentation, but there are a lot of pieces that are part of this PCD amendment. Obviously, you know where the site is located. It's at the southeast corner of Donald Ross Road and I-95. In 2010, there was a conversion chart. Your staff, the Regional Planning Council, associated a conversion chart because they knew that one day this would come, that we would be requesting changes in the project, and that chart, which is part of the DRI approval, is what was relied on for tonight's approval. And in essence, it says we can request changes that don't have future impacts, and that's in essence what we're doing today because there are no impacts. We're actually reducing. I already went through the requests. And again, this is the math where I came up with a negative 647 units. So more particularly, what's going on here, this on the left side or the west side was originally approved for 1,200 units. There were 350 apartments. They're going away. They also had a multifamily component. That's going away. The west side is now going to be single-family homes. And then some of the residential density was shifted to the east to add that total of 415 single-family homes. And this is a new plan. On the master plan today, you'll notice that lakes have been added. Those lakes are an important component of the project. They're now more refined now that we have all the permits, so the lakes are going to be part of the master plan. We are also adding a municipal park in the southeast corner. right here identified on the screen, that park. It's similar in size to Plant Drive Park, 8 acres, which this park is 8.44 acres within the site. Just for a frame of reference, while that's important, is here are the city parks. And this is going to add that final step in the parks. You'll notice up here in the upper right-hand corner, or the east part of the city, there isn't a public park. Well, now we get to add that next star on Hood Road, and that'll be a nice amenity for the residents within that area. We are also eliminating 50,000 square feet of neighborhood commercial, which was in the southwest corner of the site. That's being removed. So parcel G is now all single family. We're at that 32,000 square feet of research and development is being added to the area in green. Also, the 256 assisted living facilities being, in red, is being added in the area in red also. There are also other amendments. More specifically, the amendments are for the preserve area. There's a relocation of preserve areas. The relocation of preserve areas adjacent to Franklin Academy, and there's the relocation here, and there's been a minor relocation there. In essence, the relocations for Upland Preserve, we're actually adding a small component, or 0.1 acre of a future Upland Preserve area as part of this. We are requesting to add a wall along the west side. When I get to the end of the presentation, we're requesting a waiver for this wall because this wall will be 16 feet high, similar to what you see when you drive past Trevi. So we're requesting a waiver for this wall, and it's identified in red on the screen. This is a section along the turnpike, what the landscaping will look like on the west side. You'll notice the cluster of trees. The area is significantly landscaped. It has a significant amount of understory and canopy. And on the east side, adjacent to I-95, we have the similar situation where we have sable palms and a mix of understories. And we're also going to, during the construction process, wrap in some pine trees on that side also. The staff, so we are requesting one waiver, and that one waiver is for the height of the wall. Again, the code is for 8 feet. We're requesting it to go to 16 feet. There's a minor change to the resolution of 2010. That resolution change is in essence allowing for the park, a change of the resolution on how the parks were supposed to be separated on both sides, and we're combining them all on one side. And that is my short presentation tonight. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Ken. Anybody have any questions?
Hey, Ken.
Yes, sir.
I know you're always really good in conservation, but I can't. Maybe you went too fast, or can you go back to where the conservation areas are?
I can, yes, sir.
Thanks.
And show you what changed. So on your screen is the current master plan. That's what it looks like today. And the change, which I'm going to click on the button, what happened is the Upland Preserve basically went to this area where my mouse is, if you can see that,
yes,
and a little bit of Upland Preserve relocated in this general area. Okay. And that was the change that occurred.
Perfect.
Can you point out overall the property? Can you point out overall on the project where you have conservation land?
Oh, sure. So there are Upland Preserve throughout the site. The Upland Preserve starting in the northeast corner, adjacent to the recently approved Alton Town Center, there is an Upland Preserve area. Along the eastern boundary is Upland Preserve area. Along the western edge here, or on the south of Hood Road, Upland Preserve, and this area is an Upland Preserve area. And then also heading towards the north, this is a big portion of the Upland Preserve area. And when we originally did the approval for that was left for a reason, because it has some nice trees, but also became a good location for gopher tortoises and other animals that were living in that area. Okay. And then, of course, there's a significant Upland Preserve on the southwest corner. This is actually an archaeological site that was discovered during the DRI process. There were actually shards found on that site, which means basically they found arrowheads or something. I don't remember what it was, but or they found pottery shards. Actually, was what it was, and that's really what happened in that corner. So then we have the Upland Preserve in this area. Pottery shards. I won't tell you what Mr. Lester called it at the time of the meeting.
Yes, let's not go back.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
Perfect. Thank you, Ken.
Yes, sir.
Can I just make one comment? I wanted to thank you, and I wanted to thank Coulter for working with the JCC to put the road all the way through and signalize that intersection, because it's been actually a liability for many since the JCC opened. If you can't go cross that road without taking your life in your hand, frankly. And next year, that light will be in there, and I think. And that's great. Thank you very much for working with them. I appreciate it.
Bert, do you have any questions? And thank you.
Yes,
I don't have any questions. I just have a comment, and that's in regards to the wall. I appreciate you adding the additional slash pines to the other side of the wall. Do we have a presentation?
No complete staff presentation. We have just one quick slide to show you regarding the one thing to clarify that Mr. Tuma said.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, council members. Peter Hoffine, City of Palm Beach Gardens. I have been sworn in. Just a point of clarification. Just want to go over the future municipal park area located in the south. So it is, this area here in green is 8.44 acres. When we add in the existing access road, its buffers, its landscaping, and then the future access road along with the on-street parking, the sidewalk, and associated landscaping, we're actually getting a combined 10.5 acre park, which is greater than the 10 acres that is required. And I also just want to emphasize that these will be city-owned access roads, and that this will be a public park. The original DRI require 2 separate 5-acre community parks, which could have been privatized. We're actually getting a public park now, and that's being memorialized in the change of the condition of approval. So this will be open to residents at large in the city. So that is a tremendous benefit for the city, and staff is recommending approval.
Thank you, and I appreciate that, and I want to thank you also for the addition of the public park. It's really going to make a tremendous impact on this development, this mixed-use development, but also the north end. I think it will be heavily utilized, and I know that it would bring people to this mixed-use development, which would help with the synergy of everything, including the commercial component as well. So we really appreciate that. Do you have any other comments? Bert wanted to know if there could be a little tunnel underneath 95 going from the west to the east. The only tunnel is going to be for the gopher tortoises, I think.
Unfortunately not.
I know, it's too bad.
The critter crossing. That was it. Okay. Thank you very much. I do not have any cards on this, so I'm going to close the public hearing, and I'm going to bring this back for a council vote and or discussion.
Madam Chair, move Resolution 74, 2016.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Now we're going to move on to Resolution 75, 2016. Would the clerk please read the title?
Resolution 75, 2016, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, granting site plan and major conditional use approval for a 256-bed assisted living facility. The subject site is approximately 6.57 acres within the 99.91 acre parcel B, within the 681-acre Alton Plan Community Development PCD. The Alton PCD is located south of Donald Ross Road, north of Hood Road, and east and west of Interstate 95, as more particularly described herein, providing conditions of approval, providing waivers, providing an effective date, and for other purposes.
Thank you. I'm going to open the public hearing and ask for any ex partes. Any?
None.
None.
Just staff presentation.
Thank you.
Well, good evening. For the record, Madam Mayor and council members, Donaldson Hearing here tonight on behalf of Clarity Point. We're excited to be here. This is the second property to come before you within Parcel B at Alton, and the PCD amendment that we just listened to a few minutes ago and you approved basically provided for the entitlement needed for this project. The applicant is here this evening. We have a great team. Our architect, Mr. Mike Rodabaugh, with Leo A. Daly is here, And I saw Susan O'Rourke earlier. I don't know if she stood around for our petition or not. The request that's before you is for a site plan and major conditional use for a 256-bed state-of-the-art assisted living facility within Parcel B. The site is about 6.57 acres, and of course you're all aware where Alton is, so I'll skip over that. But the site plan that's in front of you basically represents all the petitions that you've approved to date. So the Neighborhood 1, the shopping center, which we're all excited about that you approved, United Technologies, which is under construction, and then the proposed site that's before you today is the Clarity Point site, which is located on the south side of Pasteur Boulevard, just to the west of Alton. So there's a project site as it sits. You're aware of the entitlements for the overall PCD, so I won't go over that, but just to point out that there was additional entitlements added to Parcel B basically to accommodate the proposed use. Clarity Point is a provider of healthcare services. Their original emphasis really started in the area of memory care, specialized memory care, and you'll find they're one of the very few assisted living providers that will do nothing but memory care facilities. So often they're just like a postage stamp or a component of an assisted living facility. Here, this is both assisted and memory care, but memory care is a major component. Everything is evidence-based design, and it's really based on the passion of their founders who saw their loved ones not necessarily provided for with the dignity that one might expect with a terrible disease that we have with Alzheimer's. So they're very passionate about what they do, and our architect would tell you all the details that have gone into the architectures. Particularly with the memory care, everything is really personal services or person-centered type of services, really celebrating what the patients can do, not what they can't, and looking for every opportunity to make a successful day. And making an area that's inviting and not institutional, because really part of that patient health, why they may not remember it, is bringing their loved ones and their families in to help participate as a part of the care. And if you don't have an environment that fosters that, well, the younger kids and the grandkids, they don't want to come by. As it is, it's probably a difficult thing to deal with. This is our site development plan, and we work with staff, very thankful for all of their review. The facility in total is fairly large. It's about 235,000 square feet, 256 beds. It's a variety. It's 2 to 4 stories. So as it relates to the biotech parcels, you know there's a lot of height and square footage there, so it fits in very, very well. And I think you'll see when you look at the architecture that we really should try to blend and make this feel special, particularly in the fact that it's in the Parcel B. We have more parking than's required. That's one of the waivers that we have. We do that because they do have events, they do have family that's there, and so we think that it's important. There's also some change of shift, and so you've got different shifts of personnel, and I think that that's probably something that you've seen in most of your assisted living facilities as they've been here. The larger building, which is 4 stories, is the assisted living facility, and then the memory care, which is 2 stories. It's its own building. It has its own private courtyard, very nicely done, and it is connected to the main building where they share basically back-of-house services, kitchen, and those types of services that you would have. We have 2 points of access off of Pasteur. This is just east of the roundabout, and if you go out there today, the roundabout, there's some beautiful, large live oak trees that I remember tagging with the team up in Fort Pierce, but they turned out beautiful in that roundabout. So just wanted to point that out. But 2 access points. You'll be able to come in from either of those, come in, circulate around covered porte cocheres, whether you're going to memory care or to assisted living. We work very closely with the fire department, fire marshal, and your public services relative to the service of the building. We've got some guest parking or employee parking on the west side of the building, as well as the more remote spaces in the front, leaving all of the convenient spaces available for guests and residents, and the back of the house is there. Our loading is tucked away in the back corner of the site, so really, and of course we have two sides of the site will be on open water bodies. We have several courtyards, so if you look at the design of the building, there's these U-shaped courtyards, and that is so that they open up and take advantage of the waterway. We have a wonderful courtyard and pool environment, as well as some outdoor walking areas for the assisted living component, even a little putting green, and then the courtyard specially designed for the memory care patients. It's secure. You can't get out when you're in there, and obviously that's something that's very important for memory care patients, keeping a very quiet environment, small neighborhoods, and making sure that it's totally secure. Our Art in Public Places is going to be located in a courtyard over on the west side of the building, very close to the street. And so in that area, it's framed by an alley of royal palms and then located in the middle, and that's something that we'll be bringing forward probably in the next 6 to 7 months. And of course, we've got great waterfront views. Lots of amenities, as you see in a lot of assisted living facilities. Our amenities are different for both memory care and assisted, but everything from a spa to a library to life enrichment program rooms, which are really part of the things that differentiate Clarity Point from other service providers. And then in the memory care, again, individual small neighborhoods, very important. They have a secure garden with or secure courtyard with gardens. They have their own spa and beauty salon. They have private dining rooms for families when they come in there, as well as consulting research center. We have a collaboration that we have formed with Florida Atlantic University, as many of you have been aware from their early days, and I know that they're extremely excited what they're doing here with all the programs that they're bringing to the FAU campus right here in the Gardens, as well as what they're doing with their medical programs down in their Boca campus. So we're excited. Here are the architectural renderings, and so you can see a little bit more contemporary. We maintain a lot of residential components in terms of the assisted living component, in terms of beautiful balconies and outdoor space, but really try to step it up very nice, different. It's just not the same architecture that we've seen, and certainly ties in very well to the variety of architecture that we have within Alton, including both the residential, the new club and fitness center. These are one of the entries to the assisted living. Got a little entry exhibit that'll show you to, oops, let me go back one, to the memory care facility. Landscaping is extremely well done, as pointed out in the staff. And this is that courtyard with the alley of royal palms, and this is where we would anticipate the Art in Public Places in the future. So very excited about being able to do something a little bit different with the architecture, the use of a porcelain tile, simulated wood look, as well as precast stone that'll be provided throughout the building. And then just to kind of give you an idea of the architectural context with UTC, the residential components with both contemporary Island and Med, the fitness center that was built, you can really see it really does fit in very well. And our hats off to Leo A. Daly and Mike Rodabaugh and his team for really doing something special. It's all some earlier renditions before they were involved in the project, and they really took this project to a different level. Elevations are all very nice, a lot of movement, a lot of shade and shadow, variation in height throughout all sides of the building and the architecture. Our signage will tie in with the overall theming required by the amenities package and consistent with the theme of Alton. Again, this is a major conditional use, and when we look at major conditional uses, your code has very specific criteria, and we satisfy all of the 13 criteria outlined in 7852 parens D. And with that, I'll conclude my presentation, and we're more than happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, Don. Does anybody have any questions for the petitioner? Maria?
After reading all of the paperwork, just a question. As the residents get transferred from the ALF to the memory care, do you foresee the memory care becoming a greater part of this? And if so, how does that affect the two different buildings size-wise and the parking?
Well, good question. And there is some migration from assisted living to memory care, but it's not like your total continuum of care where you're independent living and then assisted and then you move down. You do have some of that. We have sized the memory care based on what we believe the market needs. So this is probably, in terms of numbers of beds, probably the largest memory care facility that I'm aware of. I mean, we've done a lot of them, but typically the assisted and independent living facilities, there's 13, 14, 20, and here we've got a two-story building dedicated solely for memory care because it's that important. It's possible, but it really would be difficult to provide the level of care that Clarity Point wants to do to retrofit what's happening in the assisted living. I don't want to say it can't be done, but it's the memory care is so specialized, the need to break it down into very small, calm spaces, as opposed to really much more of a, I don't want to say a social environment, but with the assisted living, there's just lots of memory, there's a lot more activity, there's a lot more things going on, and with a memory care patient, you've got to be much quieter, much more structured, so that you don't agitate that patient. So I hope I answered your question to your satisfaction.
Thank you, yes.
Well, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Don, this is assisted living and memory care. There is no independent living on this
There's
property.
no independent living. So that's I just was kind of pointing that out. This is only assisted and memory care. There is no independent living proposed as a part of this.
Okay. Make that clear.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? No? Okay. Does staff now, Peter, do you have a presentation?
Just a brief point of clarification. The information that was presented by the applicant is all correct. Staff did want to point out the art in public places, or the art that was denoted on the slide has not been included on any of the exhibits. The applicant will be required to go through the process, and the proposed location and the art piece will be fully vetted through the Art and Public Places Board and then ultimately approved by the City Council. So you are not voting on any art this evening, just the proposed ALF facility.
Thank you for the clarification. Does anybody else have any questions on that or questions for staff? No? Okay.
Sorry, staff is recommending approval of Resolution 75. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I do not have any cards on this, so I'm going to close the public hearing and bring it back for a vote and or discussion.
Madam Chair, move Resolution 75, 2016.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Okay. Next, we're going to move on to Resolution 77, 2016. Would the clerk please read the title?
Resolution 77, 2016, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, approving the appointment of a regular member to the City of Palm Beach Gardens Police Officers Pension Board, providing an effective date and for other purposes.
Thank you. And can we bring this back for a discussion?
Sure.
Or a presentation?
Well, no presentation.
Okay.
Again, good evening for the record. Alan Owens, Finance Administrator. Just as a point of some brief background, Resolution 77, 2016, as mentioned, is appointment to the one vacant position on the Police Officers Pension Board of Trustees. That position is vacant due to a recent resignation. This is a resident appointed position, so that's why it's before the council. This board does not have a council liaison, so but as with all other boards and committees, we submit the applications to the all of the council for your review and consideration. So, and again, this term would expire as of May 2019 for this position, which would be the remaining term of the person who resigned. Yes.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
Madam Chair, I have read all the applications, and I would recommend Chris McDermott. He's a financial advisor from McCloskey Financial Group. He seems mostly qualified for this position, so
Is that a motion or a recommendation?
I would make a motion to pass Resolution 77, 2016, inserting the name Chris McDermott as a member of the Police Officers Pension Board.
Thank you. We have a motion on the table
Second?
and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0, noting that Carl is not here. He must have slipped away. Okay. Thank you. And next we have items for council action discussion. And at the last council meeting, we said that we were going to have a discussion regarding the Frenchman's Creek. Okay. And then I have one thing just to bring up besides that, which is very minor. Okay. Do you want to start since you're back? I'll make a note for the record that Carl is back.
Welcome back, Carl. Yeah, I brought this up last time because I've been following this for quite a while now. I know there's been back and forth with Frenchman's Creek, and frankly, Frenchman's Creek is a wonderful community. We all love them. They do wonderful things for our community. This is an anomaly in a way because back, I don't know, 13, 14 years ago, I think it's been. I don't know how long it's been, but they took advantage of a law that the legislature passed, allowing them to bring a parcel, incorporate a parcel outside the jurisdiction of the City of Palm Beach Gardens into their public amenities or their common element designation for the entire Frenchman's Creek community. That allowed them to have one common tax bill. And this was their choice. And then somewhere along the line, someone thought that the town of Juno Beach was being shortchanged. And I know we've looked into this. I know the city manager has looked into this. The city attorney has looked into this. And they cannot find anything which substantiates the fact that Frenchman's Creek is paying twice for this. Although I believe that Frenchman's Creek has entered into an agreement with Juno Beach to basically what they consider make them whole for what Juno Beach feels they lost. And that's fine. I have no problem with that. But we did get a memorandum from our city attorney which basically said there is no public benefit for paying a stipend to Juno Beach for this. Now, Frenchman's Creek wants to do it, that's fine. But the City of Palm Beach Gardens is being asked to replace that money. And I just didn't think that was right and proper. First of all, I don't believe it's legal for us to do that. There is no provision in the law for us to do that. And just to hand money over to somebody, I'm afraid might set a precedent somewhere else as well. So I don't know what has changed between now and the last time that city attorney opined on this. So I'm at a loss. I don't want to support giving money to another municipality just because they're asking for it, or they feel they're entitled to it. I don't think they are. And again, this is with no prejudice towards Frenchman's Creek. They are a wonderful community, and we all love them for what they do for our community as well.
Right.
So that's
okay. And you're 100% right. And I've looked into this. I've met with it, and I agreed with you 100%. We all voted on this before. When it came before us, we had we had information, Max looked into it, we've all looked into it, and we were providing Juno Beach with a dollar amount back, I can't remember, I think 2014, or 2013, I should say. And then in 2014, the dollar amount increased. Max and staff brought it to our attention. We didn't understand why the increase was so much, and so they looked into it. And Max and, at the time, the property appraiser, Gary Nicholas, kind of went back and forth in writing, and we all agreed that the increase was not justifiable, and the increase was theoretical, because there was no way to show the increase, and we were all in agreement with that. And then now we have a new property appraiser, but nonetheless, and I'm not saying this because of Frenchman's Creek, they came to us and they asked for us to take a second look at it, and they are excellent stewards of our community, as are many of our residential communities. And I had a conversation with Dorothy Jacks. She brought up a lot of information and actually concurred with everything that Max said in his memos. She did agree that you cannot put a dollar amount on each individual house like he had said, and that she did make a comment, though, that and I don't want to go into the details of the case, but that the property appraiser, the increase was because the property appraiser, I don't know if it's accidental or what, but they took that 10% cap off of that amount. So that's why the property value, or assessed value, I should say, increased. And that's why we stopped giving money to Juno Beach for that amount. That's all behind us. They've asked us to look at it again. Dorothy Jacks brought up some very poignant parts, and I am not saying we have to do this. I'm not saying we should do this. But if there is a legal way, and if there is, and she seems to have some information that might be very effective, that might be very helpful, and all I'm asking is that we take a good faith effort to look into it, to meet with Dorothy Jacks, Max, Ron, and myself, and to just listen to what she has to say. If our attorney says agrees that no, this additional information is not going to help, and he still feels the same way, then we need to go to Frenchman's Creek and say, absolutely, we're sorry, we made a good faith effort, and we looked into it. If for some reason this new information is helpful and we can find a way to help, because what's happening is all of the dollars are going into Palm Beach Gardens. We are collecting, the dollar amount, we say we're not, but Dorothy Jack says we might be. So all I'm saying is let's find out. Let's listen, and if there's a way to do it, and it's a legal way, and it's all on the up and up, then we do it. If not, we don't do it. I don't have a dog in the fight. I think that they just want us to make a good faith effort. They're not pressuring us in any way. However, they're in a position with Juno Beach, as you know, who's saying one thing and we're saying something else. So all I'm saying is let's make a good faith effort to listen to what she has to say. That's it. And make our decision based on the new evidence. She, again, was in agreement with Max's comments. She was in agreement with his justification, and with, but had some additional information. So I'd like to share that, or I'd like her to share it with staff. And that's my point. Anybody else have any comments?
I just looked up a bunch of stuff on this, a couple of articles from the Post, and actually the agenda from October 28th of 2015, where they had the presentation by the Palm Beach County Property Appraiser. Has this information been?
We've all had that information, but we have a new property appraiser now who seems to have some more information.
I realize that, but it was Dorothy who did the presentation at this meeting. So
I don't know which meeting you're talking about then.
The council meeting for Juno Beach.
Oh, okay, no.
October of 2015. So last year at this time. And basically,
She was
has her
not the
position
property
changed?
appraiser. She was working for the property
she was
appraiser's
working
office.
for the
Right,
But has,
just to clarify.
has her knowledge changed since then?
No.
She did
no,
this
that's-
presentation.
That's right. You're right.
I don't know if the knowledge has changed. I'm just asking, let's listen to the knowledge. That's all I'm saying. Here, not in Juneau, but here in Palm Beach Gardens.
Okay, and I appreciate where you're coming from. I don't know what she could bring to the table that would, because if we're trying to find a way to give this money, that's one thing. I just don't think we should be. That's my point of view. I know that Frenchman's is giving them money now. They have an interlocal agreement with them. In fact,
It's a resolution.
it's a resolution. It's a resolution of town council, and it's an agreement between Frenchman's Creek and Juneau Beach. They're paying this amount now. Now, are they asking?
In their
us-
opinion, they feel that they're paying twice. They're paying Juneau and they're paying Palm Beach Gardens for the same exact thing.
Yes, I understand that. But I've looked it over, Max has looked it over as well, and I don't see any evidence of that. That's the
And
thing.
I understand that, and I would agree with you had I not talked to Dorothy. And so now she has she has a myriad of chronological information that I'm saying may help and may not help. All I'm saying is let's listen and see what she has to say. Would it help? Possibly, but if not, maybe not. But I'm just saying if we can help a community in our city, why wouldn't we try to help? I know Ron
I know
wants
you
to say
confuse us all
something.
the
I'm
time
sorry.
because we look and sound alike. He's getting older by the minute. I would just like to point out that there are two separate issues. And the two separate issues is money, and the other separate issue is what is legal and serves a public purpose. Dorothy Jacks deals with money. She doesn't deal with legal public purpose expenditure of funds. So of the money aside, and God bless Dorothy Jacks, I think she's great. I don't see that as the issue here. And I'd like to point out is, what is it that has changed since we had maybe the city attorney can answer, or what has changed since the city attorney gave an opinion that this does not serve a public purpose, that regardless of the amount of money and how much we all love Frenchman's Creek and how we might want to pay them money, but what has changed in the last 2 years that now makes it a public purpose that the council can consider giving them money? And that has nothing to do with Dorothy Jackson. She does a great job. I have nothing against her whatsoever. She's good. But it's two separate issues. So the issue becomes one issue. What has changed, and the attorney can certainly address it, that makes it a public purpose for the expenditure of this money to anyone? We've already established through all the correspondence that we've reviewed, the town of Juneau Beach has no legal claim to property taxes from this section of this Frenchman's Creek. They have no claim to it legally. We've already established that Frenchman's Creek has no legal obligation to pay property taxes to the town of Juneau Beach. They voluntarily now are paying them $5,600 and change a year based on their value, their property appraiser. The city of Palm Beach Gardens, and unless Max has changed his opinion, and I certainly have not changed mine, is receiving no additional property tax from Frenchman's Creek and has no legal obligations to rebate those taxes to the town of Juneau Beach or Frenchman's Creek. So the issue in my mind comes down to what has changed to make the payment of whatever amount of money to any one of these entities a public purpose that benefits the taxpayers of the city of Palm Beach Gardens.
The other question is, could we legally rebate it? I don't think we can. That's how I.
I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not going to even play a lawyer on the dais. We have one, and I'm not debating that or not. I'm saying, could we ask? As far as the tax and what you're saying is what I'm told is that, yes, they are paying an additional tax, and it is coming to Palm Beach Gardens, and that's what I believe Dorothy had said also, but she has now a way of showing that. That's the difference, and I can't go into detail because I'm not a property appraiser either, so, and I don't want to muddy the water with something that I don't know 100% about. And again, go ahead.
Right, can I just throw something in there? If you and Max and Ron meet with Dorothy, and she makes her presentation, and Max, being our legal representative, does not agree with that or believes that we're in the same position we were before, then you'll accept that.
Of course.
And then you'll go out to Frenchman's and present it, and we'll be done with this.
That's what I was saying. I would absolutely. I don't want to.
I mean, we're talking
I don't want to do anything
$5,800 here.
illegal. I don't want to do
This is
anything.
not like $500,000 going out the door that
Absolutely
they're
not.
looking for us to
Well,
pay.
wait a minute, though. It is. I know it's $5,600, but if we go down this route, just remember this: there is a 10% cap, and if the 10% cap holds every 6 years, it will double.
Roughly every 6 years.
Roughly every 6
Okay, so
years, it will.
to 12,000.
To 12,000,
And then 24,000 in 20 years from now.
And then 20 years from now, it could be $300,000.
But I'm going to
which
rely.
is-
I'm
which
going to
is
rely on Max.
concerns
I'm going to
me.
rely on
That's
Max
what- yeah.
for his opinion. And if his opinion is not changed after that discussion, then you have to go to Frenchman's, and this is how it's going to be. This is our decision. It hasn't changed. This is where we are, and you can continue your agreement with Juno Beach to pay that money, but the city will not be involved in that transaction anymore. And I think that's the way you got to do it.
I will, of course, do what the council directs me to do. I honestly don't know what, and no disrespect at all to Ms. Jacks, the only change that occurred in this section of the law that allowed them to incorporate when they combined the beach club. If you remember, what happened is they combined the beach club, the beach and yacht club combined with the Frenchman's Creek HOA and it became the Frenchman's Creek Country Club. And when they did that, they took advantage of a provision in the law. It's section 193.0235 of the Florida statutes, and it allowed them to subsume that in as a common element. Like anybody that lives in a gated community, you have common elements. Your gate, the areas of your retention ponds, your clubhouse. If it's a golf course community, the golf course. Those are common elements typically. And so they're owned by the not-for-profit HOA or country club. Those are typically run as not-for-profits. And because of that, and it's treated as a common element, they're tax-free. They don't get assessed a property tax. Well, normally that happens when you build the community. So the value of that common element per se is incorporated into the original sales price of the home, and then as the properties turn over throughout time, market forces determine what value that brings to the home. Is it adding value or is it not, or do the fees outweigh the value? You see that in some of the communities that have exceptionally high HOA fees where the houses are not necessarily sometimes growing at the same amount. So you see how that works. Well, this situation, what you had is you had them add a common element after the development was already sold and people had already lived there. What the property appraiser originally presented to us, he said, well, and that property the value of that property was parceled out and sprinkled across the 716 dwelling units or properties in Frenchman's Creek. Well, the numbers simply don't bear that out, because if you took the original value that they had valued at the property back in 2003 when this occurred, and you divided that by 716, and you looked at the market value in the year before and the market value in the year after, it doesn't wash. And then as you go, and of course then it becomes subsumed in it, just like it is in all your other properties. I mean, if you look at the houses in PJ National or the Isles or Evergreen or whatever, their common elements are in there, and you can't really divide it back out. Then we fast forward to a couple of years ago, or 3 years ago, and I guess somebody at Juno Beach decided they thought that they were getting shortchanged from the services that they were purportedly providing to the beach club. And we went in this whole back and forth between myself and the property appraiser, the former property appraiser, Mr. Nicklitz, and he was arguing back and forth. And then after they got done arguing, and they came out and they started looking at the building card, and they started looking at the numbers, and they got their little calculators out, and they went out and they thought, oh my gosh, he's right. There's no way for us to determine whether or not there's an actual taxable value attributable to the homes because of the beach club. I had argued with them and said before that it was specious, and then they took issue with that choice of words, and then they came back and then they ultimately said, no, you're right. as a practical matter, you can't really subtract out that value of the beach club and determine it, because ultimately what it comes down to, if you're going to try and pay taxes on it, is determine what the value of it is and what it adds to the homes. Because the whole argument is the beach club has a certain market value as a standalone property like anybody else's property or home does. And then they're trying to say, well, that market value, we're receiving that in taxes. So say it was $10 million, to make the math easy, and you got a 5.3 something millage rate, so that'd be, what, $53,000. So they're saying that we'd be receiving that much in taxable benefit, because that $53,000, if you will, would be divided amongst all the homes in Frenchman's, and then we're getting it in their assessment. But it doesn't work that way. Like I said, the value of the homes, it's what the market considers that value of that amenity to be. So you can't just assess the value of that property and then less it out of the homes, because what value it brings is subjective. Some people care about it being in a beach club. Some people don't care about having a beach club. Some people care about living on a golf course. Some people don't. So you can't really subtract it out. Now, fast forward to 2015. There was a minor. They were trying to get a change in 193, and they got a change. They added subparagraph D, and it includes property located within the same county as the subdivision and used for at least 10 years exclusively for the benefit of lot owners within the subdivision. That's great. It still doesn't change the taxable value or the quantifiable, the ability to quantify the benefit as it relates to Frenchman's Creek. So that's the only change in the law. And so since then, other than that, the circumstances haven't really changed. So that's a fundamental question for the council to determine is, has something occurred that is different such that now you feel that there is a public purpose for paying the money? At the time, in spite of the previous memos, the council had not determined that there wasn't a public purpose. And then we fast forward, and what prompted an additional look at this is, yes, they went kind of off the charts, and they took the value and went from 1.8, I believe, almost 1.8 to 7 and some change. Yeah. And everybody was like, well, that's crazy. And they did it, ironically, Mr. Nicholas did that right after the city council agreed to pay the money. And so took another look at it, went back and reread through their memos, looked at the comments from their attorney, and then reanalyzed the information and said, look, I honestly believe that I was right the first time, and that and the council asked me to take a definitive position. So I did, and I looked at the law, and I said there does not appear to be any public purpose for the taxpayers of the city of Palm Beach Gardens to rebate taxes that there is no way to determine that you're receiving back to Juno Beach. And so I put that in writing for you, and now it's left for you to make a determination as a group how you want to proceed with that.
And I guess that what you had just said, I am total in agreement, with the exception of the fact that apparently there is a way to determine that value now. So that's the difference, I guess. But I don't want to go into it.
There actually isn't. I'm trying to argue with you, Madam Mayor, but there actually isn't. There is no possible way that Dorothy Jacks or anybody else, and because Gary Nicholas was the property appraiser a lot longer than she was, or is. He was the property appraiser longer.
But I guess, how do you know if you haven't heard what she had to say?
Because the law hasn't changed. There's nothing in the law that has changed that would make that ascertainable. Because you cannot take the assessed or market value, there's not even assessed value, but the market value of that property, and then divide it by 716 and say that the city of Palm Beach Gardens is getting that benefit. And one of the reasons that I can honestly say that to you is I've gone through here and I've looked at property, assessed and taxable values for numerous properties in Frenchman's Creek. And ironically, right now on the website, it shows 2014 to 2016. And if there was some magical change in the law from 2015 to 2016 that now allows the property appraiser to somehow determine that value, there would be, even if it wasn't completely equal, there would be some reasonable semblance in the market value of these properties from 1 year to, as the years change based on the change in the law. And there's not. In 2014, the property I'm looking at right now, the total value, the total market value was $492. In 2015, it was $587. In 2016, it was 612. And the taxable values are controlled by their exemptions. But if you look at it, it's like there should be in each one of the properties, and if you compare another property, there should be somewhere in there some kind of number that shows that that's, except even if you try to, you can't divide out the value of the beach house and say, divide it by 17 and add it to these homes, because that's not the way it works. It's just not the way it works, because the value of a common element that a common element brings to a piece of property is based upon the market benefit of it. And
Can I just interject something quickly here? It just occurs to me that Mirasol just did a $40 million improvement to their clubhouse. Did the property values in Mirasol raise 40?
It just happened, so we wouldn't know.
But that's not going to happen. It's an amenity. Okay? It's a, what do they call it?
what's a common element?
Common element. The common element was there before. It just improved. It's just because they put $40 million into it doesn't make it worth that much more per house.
And I can't argue that because I'm not a property appraiser, and I'm not going to say yes or no because I have no, there might be, and the answer might be yes, but I can't say that it is unless I ask the question. All I'm saying is let's ask the question. But if you don't, I mean, look, this is, we make decisions,
1 point.
5 people. So if nobody wants to go down this
One
path, then
point.
we're not going down the path.
What if, Max may answer this, what if the property appraiser explains it all and the clouds part, the sun comes shining through, and we say, she's right. We are getting tax dollars from Frenchman's Creek because of the beach property.
Right.
Yeah.
Does that change the legal opinion that this council's policy could be, we're going to give them a tax rebate because of this special problem or situation? And how do you explain that to the rest of the
first of all,
taxpayers in this city?
this is the only piece of property in the state of Florida where you have a planned development.
Understand
and
that.
So there is our justification right there.
Oh, these
Number
are
one.
tax dollars that are legally
Let me
collected.
finish. You asked a question. Let me finish. My thought was, we have an IG. We write letters all the time saying, is this something, an opinion? And if it's not, they will say absolutely not. And I would want to get, even if Max said, yes, I think this is the right way to do it, I would still want to get the blessing of the IG to make sure that it's not something that we shouldn't be doing. That's why they're there. And I think that that's something we would have to do no matter what, because I don't want to put ourselves in a position where we're
The second part of that question I was asking is, if Dorothy Jacks does all this thing and shows that we are collecting taxes, does that change the legal opinion from our city attorney?
And I don't know unless we all
I'm
know what
asking
she has to say, but how would he know unless he heard her?
Yeah, but wait a minute. There is section
It isn't the money, it's the
193.2.
issue.
There is this section in the Florida State Code that allows for this. Frenchman's Creek did this.
I know. I have it
on
right
their
here.
own. We didn't do it to
Added
them.
item D. I'm not
I mean, so
I'm not arguing
even
that.
if what the city manager
That
is
has
saying
nothing
is
to do
true.
with the fact that we're collecting taxes or not.
What?
Whether they're allowed to do it or not doesn't mean
They
that
did it
we're
to
collecting
themselves.
taxes
They
from.
did it to themselves, is what I'm saying.
Well,
Yes, but I mean that has no bearing on the fact whether we are or we are not collecting taxes that should go to Juneau. That has no bearing on that.
No, it shouldn't
Question.
go to Juneau according to the law. It shouldn't, because the law allows them to do that. They opted into that law, and that allows them to do it. So it's not a matter of whether Juneau Beach is being shortchanged. Frenchman's Creek is taking advantage of the law. That's all they're doing. It's a loophole in the law.
Okay, so again, we're done with this
It's like
conversation,
Donald
I
Trump,
think.
I'm sorry.
And again,
It's
we're one vote with 5 people. I mean, we have to move on. We all need to make a decision as to move on or not. I honestly don't have a dog in this fight. I just want to give them an answer. That's all. So, what's the decision?
Are we prepared to give it that answer? It
Well, the
doesn't seem
question
like it.
is, are we meeting with Dorothy Jacks to gather more information and make a decision, yes or no, based on the opinion of our attorney and staff? Or are we just going to continue with the path that we've already gone on that says we have our legal opinion, and the answer is no?
All I'll say is, like I said, I'll do what you want, but I'm not. I'll tell you right now, I'm not going to get into I'm not going to get into a battle of legal opinions with the Inspector General's office, and the reason I'm not going to do that is because, first of all, no disrespect to the Inspector General's office, but they have one lawyer in that office, and I'm sorry, I'm not gonna sublimate my opinion to theirs, and ultimately, whether you get an opinion from them or not, it really doesn't matter, because unless there's something that changes my legal opinion or you fire me, if I give you a legal opinion that says it's illegal and you choose to go forward with it, each one of you that vote for it will incur personal liability for it if you get sued. So you can pursue the course of action any way you want. You know, all of you have heard me say this and tell you I hate saying it, and I certainly don't want to say it in public, but you asked me for a legal opinion. I gave you a legal opinion, and now you have the choice. You have to determine whether or not you want to abide by that legal opinion or not. It's your decision. You're a legislative body. It's your choice. I'm just making you aware of your risks if you pursue this course of action, if you choose to go forward. I'm not saying choosing to tell us to go talk to somebody, that's up to you, but I'm saying unless there's something that changes my legal opinion, which I am highly doubtful is going to occur, I will approach it with an open mind, but I am highly doubtful it will occur. I just want to let you know, because I'm not going to come back and change my opinion or give you guys an opinion to suit a particular desire one way or the other, whether it's a Frenchman's Creek or Juno Beach or anybody else, because I honestly try to render the opinions I do for you as a council based upon the law, not my personal feelings or the things that I actually want to do one way or the other. It doesn't enter into it. I just want to let you know it, because we're starting to go down a slope that could put some of you in jeopardy, and I just wanted to make you aware of it before.
Max.
And I don't want to put us in a position, and I'm just telling you that I'm not asking you to render an opinion based on somebody's biased conversation. All I am suggesting is we either meet or we don't. And again, I just want to.
You're right. Let's decide amongst ourselves. I for one feel we should not go down this road. I think we should stick with the legal opinion that we have from our city attorney. That would be my vote.
There's one.
If Max advises us that there's no more conversations that need to be had based on the law, then I think we would all be cautious to waver against that.
Okay, so what is your recommendation then?
If Max feels that legally his opinion is that we don't need to have any more conversations on it, then I feel that we don't need to have any conversations on it now until someone challenges it.
Number two, Maria?
I'm in accord with Carl. There's nothing that's been presented to me that says we should change the path that we're on right now.
Okay. Then that's the majority. So we have three. So we're not going to meet. We're going to end it, and we're just going to say forget it. Change the law. If they want to change something, then they'll have to go to a Plan B, and they can change the law.
I mean, I think Max did his legal opinion a couple years ago. I think Frenchman's took a position to sign a different accord with the town of Juno Beach.
They did.
To do a stipend, $5,600, whatever it was last year. And I think they made their choice. I mean, it's for us to go back if Max feels there's no changes. I don't want this to drag on. It's not $100,000 that's going out the door. It's
$5,000.
It's a day's receipts on the golf course. So I mean, it's really we're talking about this for 20 minutes.
Golf course is gonna make
well,
more
I'm just
than that.
maybe an hour's receipts or whatever. But for that dollar amount, it doesn't make sense to open up the door. That could be another battle down the road. If a law were to change and Max recognizes that in Tallahassee that something changed, then that would have to be reopened at that time, but it doesn't matter at this point.
Well, then I think we have our direction. We're going to go back to Frenchman's Creek and leave it at that. And that's all I want to do is have the conversation.
Are you going to go back to Frenchman's and talk to them
I'm going to tell them exactly what we decided here at that. Well, they might know it by now, but if they're listening. But otherwise, we'll let them know. And does anybody else have any other items that they want to bring up for discussion?
Actually, I do.
Okay.
And my agenda, well, actually maybe, I don't know. In my agenda review, after we were done and had some time, I was talking with Ron, and the question about marijuana dispensaries came up. So,
Because that's
Ron,
on my list.
would you please share with the rest of us what sorry? what your comments were?
We're both going to resign and retire and open up a dispensary
Not in Palm Beach Gardens, you're not.
in Palm Beach Gardens. We want to change the law first. It's funny because not funny, but it's coincidental. I had a conversation with our attorney, and we've been talking about this internally with Natalie and everyone. So I was telling him we need to put together a presentation and give it to council. The way our ordinances are right now, dispensaries are not allowed because it's just not a permitted use. We need to put together a paper and have a discussion with you and make sure that's the direction you want. Let Max review the latest points of the law and make sure that we're in compliance with the law. So right now, the answer is no until something changes. So we're going to be looking at that.
When does it take effect?
Well, we
the
do have a
ballot initiative.
Well, it takes effect immediately, but the thing is that they also then get to adopt regulations and statutes to regulate it, and they've got some time to put those in place, and I'm sure that will come up this legislative session. I would fully expect the legislature to be taking that up this session. And then typically, even if they pass a law, it won't take effect probably until July. That's usually it works, unless it's something, not something this big, I would think will probably be July 1st. Sometimes when they make some minor changes, they take effect as soon as the governor signs it. This I would expect July 1st, but we'll be moving forward expeditiously to review the law. And there's a couple of sticky issues about it just because, it's illegal federally still. And then how does that comport with a state constitutional amendment, which one prevails? I have my own opinions about that thus far, but I want to fully investigate the counterpoint to make sure that we're on solid ground before we bring something forward to you that puts us on the wrong side of it.
Okay, and
Can I ask you a question?
yeah, absolutely.
Did you have? I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
You don't see anything to where, since this is a medical marijuana, correct, that passed?
It's medical, yes.
That it's going to be protected by the federal government, like the sober homes, where we're going to have to allow these things to be grown or areas in our city? I mean, you never know with the federal government,
Real briefly.
Really, seriously.
One of the biggest challenges with it right now, and it's something that the states that have made it legal either for medical use and or for recreational use even, the biggest challenge they have is it's an all-cash business because it is illegal federally. You can't deposit the money into a bank. You can't deposit it into a bank because it's federally it's ill-gotten gains, right? So, and the other thing is since it's federally illegal, the IRS can't tax it. So it presents some challenges because you have what I kind of see as an attractive nuisance for crime in some ways. You have a large stockpile of marijuana and a large stockpile of cash. So that looks like a pretty attractive place to go, hit if you're one of those kind of people that do those things. So that's a challenge as far as how you deal with that. If you do allow it in the city, as far as regulations, proper security protocols and things, we'd of course confer with our police department on how to best accomplish that from a regulation standpoint. But then you also have this whole conundrum again where it's illegal under federal law, and our officers are sworn. They uphold federal law as well as state law, and they're sworn to do so. But then it's allowed. It's made a right under our Constitution under state law. So there's a lot of legal opinions bouncing around right now, and I'm trying to sift through the various opinions and review the case law and what little there is out there on my own to try and come up with something that's going to hopefully address the issue and answer the question.
Good. I know several municipalities have put together legislation in regards to the dispensaries. I, for one, don't want to be a guinea pig for this use. I'd rather let other people take the initiative and let it go to other municipalities and watch, learn, listen, and if it's something that we choose to maybe consider in the future after everyone else has had their opportunity to work out the bugs, so to say, that is something to consider. But I honestly would rather have I don't know if you would call it a moratorium or nothing, but I would know it would be, or a prohibition, if that's the case, to the dispensaries in our city at this time.
I agree.
We're in agreement, staff is in agreement with your opinion, and we will move in that direction if
Thank
that's what you all want.
That's exactly what I would like. That's my vote.
Everyone okay with that?
Are you in agreement? I think we're unanimously in agreement regarding that.
Nobody's challenged puppy nose yet, so that's out.
He writes good law.
Every once in a while.
Okay. Does anybody else have any items that they want to discuss?
Okay.
Happy Thanksgiving.
One more.
Okay.
I actually had an economic meeting, ran into Chuck Huff from North Palm Beach at our last meeting. There were people that got up and said the city of North Palm Beach closed 11 homes, sober homes, as is normally the case, misinformation and disinformation. Chuck actually said there were 3. And when I went, and he gave me the addresses, and the addresses happened to be on Hummingbird, and these are not single-family homes. These are right along the water, and they are multifamily units. They're basically apartments. There were 3 buildings like that. And in the last 4 or 5 years, they've only changed ownership. Only one has changed ownership, and that was in the last year. So not a single-family. These are multifamily apartments, and no, there weren't 11 that were closed and whatnot. But I don't know if the Lois Frankel bill has done anything to help, but it's worth looking, keeping an eye on it.
I'm intimately involved in reviewing it, and like I said, I'm just when I have something, I'll bring it back to you.
Okay. All right. Anybody else?
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
I actually have a report.
We're good with the discussion? Okay, we're closing the discussion section. Now we're moving on to city attorney report.
The only thing I have to report is you may recall that we had a motion for attorney's fees in the Dinerstein versus the City of Palm Beach Gardens. That hearing was Monday. We went Monday. Costs were assessed because costs are allowed under the statute and the rules. So under Chapter 57 and under the rules of civil or appellate procedure, they were allowed. So the total costs were $1,600 and some change. They asked for attorney's fees, and they were summarily denied. So they didn't have a right to pursue the attorney fees because they weren't the ones that propounded the discovery request that they alleged we improperly answered. And even if they were, the judge rejected their arguments as to our answers. So they won't be awarded any attorney's fees. Mr. Dinerstein will not.
Okay, great. Anything else? That's it, Max? You're done with your attorney report?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I guess we move to adjourn.
Second. Move to adjourn. Second.
And a second.
Aye.
Everyone's in favor of adjournment.
We are adjourned. Happy anniversary. That's right. So moved. So moved. Second.
See you all on Saturday.